Unless your answer is, I woke up for this. Okay, let me just move around some things. I don't need that guy. Okay, friends, phone, do not disturb. Okay. We are about to have fun. Yes.
I'm trying to log onto your Wi-Fi. I see the password, but what is the next?
I think Keller-Williams.
That's what I found.
Okay. Yep. And you got the password. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. I was like, I'm here a lot, but it's like home where your Wi-Fi connects automatically. So it has been a minute. Okay. Anyone else need Wi-Fi set up? Okay. So let me quickly familiarize you with the resources that we're going to be pulling today, what we have, and then we'll get started on the class. So in front of you, you have a workbook. So some of you were in the room when I was talking about the manual. The traditional student manual for customer experience is 192 pages. So we are going to primarily anchor on just the slideshow today. So I'm going to have the slideshow up. This I printed out because a lot of the activities we're going to be doing together are going to be here, and I want you to be able to actually do the activity and write it down. So that's why this is printed out. And the last disclaimer, customer experience is a class that is traditionally an 8-hour class that we got approved in the state of Utah for 4 hours CE. And we just also shaved an additional 30 minutes off of it because we were like, that would be fun. So I condensed out the portions that really you can take a class like customer experience and go over these very big concepts. And then in an 8-hour class, you're going to go very, very deep on 2, 3, 4 of the subjects. In this style, of course, we're going to be able to cover all of the customer experience, meaning all of the different sections. And the going deep part is going to be more tied into the homework as far as what you're going to be doing after the class to make sure your customer experience is set up for success. So there's my disclaimer. The only reason I give that disclaimer is because if you're a person that's like, wait, we skipped a slide. We sure did. We sure did. And I promise if you're the person that's like, we could have said we said it in 5 paragraphs, we could have said it in 1, well, you're in the right place. Okay. So, and then I put a website up on the board. We put every single resource that we're going to talk about, including the printout that you have, on that page, and you have access to it. We have a few people that are visitors but not with Keller-Williams. You can still access this. So you just go to the website, kwhomehubagent.com/cx, and you'll be able to download all those resources and pull them up. Okay, let's go. And then the last thing that potentially is going to work, and if it doesn't, it's fine, is the clicker. Let's see. I don't think when you AirPlay that works. It's fine. I like my space bar. Okay. So why are you here today? The answer can't be because it gets CE, because maybe that's why you're here. Why are you here? When you saw a title that said customer experience, building systems, relationships, and loyalty. Okay, thanks, I'll take that too. Josh Cern, why is that a draw?
Honestly, I've built a really wonderful system around this already, but I'm very interested to hear another person's take on it. But I think more importantly, somebody who's a little bit more tech savvy than what uses technology-wise.
Okay.
To run these systems.
Cool. So maybe an easier systematic way using technology to do the things you know are already tried and true.
Yeah, and I coach a lot of other agents, and so for me, if I have the insight on this type of information through Keller Williams side of it, makes people, replicating it so much more doable.
Yeah, I love that. Anyone else have something why you are here? We can also add what you hope to get out of it. Yeah. I love that. Learning based. I love that. Okay, great. So we're all learning based here. We are going to learn a kind of cooler, better way, more efficient way to do what we're doing. Maybe we're not doing the right things. Also, we're here to get CE. Okay, so all those. So this is your CX system. So these are the 5 metrics, the 5 pillars. Okay, so another thing too, most of this is the activities. So I will tell you when we're opening to this, because I know that will be the like, wait, is this on the next page? So right now we're just looking at we're just going through the slides. You can all pull up the website if you want, if you have your laptop, but I'll tell you when we're using the workbook. Okay, so this is your CX system. So today we have 5 different pillars. So set, serve, survey, surpass, and sustain. So those are the things we're working to figure out to set up for our real estate business. Okay, so Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, written 20 years ago. What I love about this book is you would think a book written 20 years ago about how to do something in any industry would be completely obsolete. I would put that judgment on it at first value. And what's so cool about specifically what Gary Keller has built is that we have systems and models within Keller Williams, within this book, that, to Josh's point, the way that we're going to do some of these things could change based on companies that have opened that systems, that have opened technology that's advanced to do the things, and what you're doing remains the same. So I love that piece of it. And then this is our life cycle of a customer experience. So on the buyer side and the seller side, there's a little bit of difference, but I'm just going to go read through those with you. So for a buyer and a seller, you have a needs analysis at the beginning. For a buyer, then you have the pre-qual, pre-approval. You get information about the neighborhood they're interested in, help them get a home search set up. You make an offer on the property that they're interested in, negotiate, coordinate specific vendors, your home warranty company, your inspector, prepare to close, right? So sometimes there's those hiccups. You close, and then you have time after you close, and then that starts all over again. It's so easy working with buyers. Isn't it just easy when I list it out in 10 points and it's already over? Okay, seller, very similar. You do a needs analysis at the beginning. You, different for a seller, your pricing strategy, right? You're pulling comparables of what the market is saying this house is worth. Property preparation, getting the house ready to show, to stage. You have a strategy around it depending on the area it's in and the price point that it's in. You just receive offers. They come and you just go review them, and then you negotiate to get the best price for your client that you're representing. You sell the house, you prepare to close, you close, and then you have post-close. So this is the process working with a buyer and seller as far as it is just textbook, right? When people use that term, this is the textbook way of doing it. And what we're talking about in the class today is all what's hiding behind the curtain. how many opportunities do we have in these 10 points to create an experience worth referring, right? Because that's going to be one of the things that we talk about. We're going to provide a good customer experience. So you guys are going to go through this whole process and we're going to learn that. And I don't mean to say what's the point, but let's be direct today. And what's the point of that amazing experience if it can't be at least 2x'd? If not, planting a seed that's going to continually build more referrals, right? So we're going to talk about that today. Gary Keller, if you want extraordinary results in your life, you cannot be average. How would you define average in the real estate industry? We're not talking about you, we're talking about everybody else. Who's average? What's average? This is a safe room. What do you feel like an average agent would do? And remember, it's not you.
I guess like
Bare minimum, like that checklist, right? We got through it. Okay, who else? Is there somebody else I'm supposed to be helping? Yeah, bare minimum. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. I love that. Anyone else? What's average? Have you ever worked with someone on the other side of a transaction that was an average agent? You don't have to name names, but tell me what did they do? What was the characteristic they had that made them average? Okay, so it's almost like that same thing's resonating, right? Bare minimum.
I think like a big problem that real estate agents have, whether they're average or not, but I feel like it's extremely average, is communication challenges. And so there aren't a lot of voice-to-voice communications where we're dialoguing on behalf of our clients and working together towards a common goal. Instead, they're very abrupt emails or text messages that are information or communication.
What's surprising to me about that information, not communication, is the person that you're talking to on the other side, they are also working towards getting, in some cases, a very similar paycheck to you. And so is that surprising in that situation that they are acting in that way, in a transactional way? Because you know in 4 days or in 40 days, this is $17,000 in your bank account, but the other person doesn't seem to be acting like that, right? There's not an attachment to a dollar amount. And this conversation, this is why we start with this at the beginning of the class, because we're humans and we have to know why we're doing what we're doing. And I could start with, hey, you guys, we need to get Google reviews. We need to set this up so you can get your testimonials out there. And I did not tell you why this is extremely important and why the numbers are why we're going to be not average agents. We're going to be above average. So we're going to start with the numbers that make sense so that we know why we need to do all of this, okay? So we're going to go through this exercise. The truth is you would have no business without customers. So again, to the point where Josh is saying, okay, there's this person on the other side and they're very informational. There's little communication. Sometimes there's little urgency. They are doing the bare minimum. Are they acting as if they have no business if they have no customers? No. Sometimes they're just like, well, sure, they literally fall on trees, right? So what does a customer experience mean to you? So I'm gonna pull up this, so we're gonna show the myths and what the truth is, and then I wanna kind of get your take on what the experience means to you. So a customer experience is defined by you. That's the myth. The truth is It's defined by the customers. So when we're talking about ego today for the next 3 hours, yeah, it was like 3 hours, this is not about you. I know that you're the fill in the blank team or fill in the blank brand, and yet we are just talking about everybody else and who you serve today. So if you ever see yourself like, be like, but me, we're gonna flip the script in our head today. The myth that it starts and stops at the end of the transaction, to your point, like just do the bare minimum until we get to the end. It starts and continues for a lifetime. We're gonna do a fun math problem around this in a minute. A customer experience meets the customer's needs. That's a perfect average agent, average experience. The truth is that a customer experience meets their needs and connects at an emotional level and, oh, by the way, exceeds the expectation. The myth of a good customer experience is one size fits all. I just learned how to do a cool customer experience for real estate agents 101 and copy paste. The truth is it's personalized and touches emotion. So it's not even just personalized to your team, it's personalized to the client that you're working with. The myth is it addresses customers' specific issues as they arise. The truth is it addresses issues plus any issues the customer didn't know they had. So has anybody that has sold a house ever had an experience where you let your client know of something that they didn't already know, like a pitfall, something to watch out for? Like you put up the caution tape so that they didn't fall in the 10-foot pit. Has anyone had an experience where they saved their client money?
Yes.
Okay. Because that's your job and that's what you're paid to do, right? As a fiduciary.
The more you do it, the more you realize that you get out in front of things and get better at making sure you know where before it becomes an issue.
Yep. And addresses specific issues. So if I have a client, the client is Josh's client, they come up to Josh and say, I would just like to talk about this, this, and this that I'm worried about. And Josh is like, yep, we just have to do this, this, and this. And they're like, great, that's cool. If Josh brings up an example that's like, that is going to save them $25,000 or is going to prevent them from getting sued, because how it currently is going, they could, right? Something like that. Which one of those experiences, when I send a review link or when I ask who else can I help, which one of those experiences is going to warrant me as a customer shouting from the rooftops the experience I had working with Josh? Probably the other one, right? You just answering my questions is great. It's better than not being responsive, but we're talking about the above average experience, right? The myth is it does not happen organically. The truth is you have to be intentional and set standards. This class is all about setting standards. So you know it's not like, heaven forbid someone calls me and says they want me to list their house today, and I'm like, ugh. It's very like, every time that I represent a seller, this happens. Every time that I represent a buyer, this happens. And then success is based on feelings alone. The truth is it's measurable by repeat and referral business and surveys. Success leaves clues. We're going to dig into that last one a lot today, so I'll just skip over. Take care of the people who take care of you. So 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your existing customers. If you have attended Six Personal Perspectives, hello. If you've attended Six Personal Perspectives, we talk a lot about the 80-20 rule, Pareto principle, right? So 20% of your existing customers, that's where 80% of your revenue comes from. So today we're going to talk about taking care of the people that take care of you, right? Your sphere and the referrals that you get from that is going to be the lifeblood of your business. The most predictable metric, please push back on me if you don't agree, the most predictable metric of future business is being intentional about the experience and the business that you're doing now, right? Because there is always repeat and referral business to be had if you have systems in place to retain the repeat business and you have systems in place or you're providing an experience that is worth referring. And that one's blank. Okay, the truth. It's easier to keep a customer than it is to get a new one. True, right? Okay, so another awesome Gary Keller quote. The data is clear. Staying in a relationship with your database is the #1 way to get more business. It's funny because I teach a lot in our market centers. And the class that I teach most is 36 Touch. And if you're not familiar with 36 Touch, it's from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book that if you intentionally reach out to everybody in your database 36 times a year with a specific set of touches, and we'll talk about that at the end of this class, then you can have or yield a predictable result from your database every single year. And yet, as I'm teaching these classes consistently to different agents, but sometimes to the same agents, I would say the systems about reaching out to your database is the one thing that stays on agents' to-do list the longest. As someone that coaches agents, Josh Stern, why do you think that is? Why do we keep be intentional with reaching out to your database on our forever to-do list? And I'm totally putting you on the spot.
Well, I've taught the class for 20 years.
Yes.
And so I am so tickled to absolutely be taking the reins, at this point forward and stay with, a straight face that I could probably count on one or two hands at most, 20 years of people that actually have implemented a correct 36 touch system.
Okay.
I was doing a 33 touch system. I think there are a couple of different challenges that are there. People overthink what they should spend. People lack having a system. We're not intentional about every person that we meet putting them into our Stay in Touch system. Right? We have a tendency to avoid phone calls, so we don't stay in touch with people. Right? And communication is how you have relationships, and your business is your database. So I don't know. I really am kind of surprised because back when I was running this Stern team, I got to teach this class, and everybody wants to grow to be doing what I'm doing, and I'm like, that's what I teach this class. This is all you have to do.
But there's got to be something else.
What's that?
There's something else. You're just not telling me. No, that's just like that. That's the urge. Like, you're just not telling me the actual reason why you've built a 7th level business. Just tell me the real story. Yes.
I think it's really good that you refer to the MREA a couple of times. It's pages 132 to 148 where it talks about the lead generators you're having that.
Okay.
I tell you honestly,
I'm gonna write that
if
down.
you do that, you get to a point where you have a predictable business. And that's,
Did you say 38 or 48?
132 to 148.
48, okay.
So that'll cover 8 by 8 as well. That's also something that you can switch managers on relationships before we drift on for the rest of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't anything magical about it, but for whatever reason, the harder
Marketing enhanced.
The prospecting part of it is something that, human beings get used from your ears on, and that is, I don't know what to say, I don't want to send sales to you. And it's like, yeah, if these people are going to buy, sell, or refer, they're going to do so because of a relationship, not because you're selling something. And so when you call and you're talking to people, you're just going to make a contribution, even though you're asking what's important to them, just have a relationship. But I still don't have an answer.
Well, and I will just add one little comment to this. So, and the reason why I bring it up is the fact that I remembered it from 10 years ago, pretty much at this point. Hopefully it will stick in your heads for 10 years and you'll do it earlier than 10 years from now. But Josh came and taught at, this is when you were actively in production, taught at one of our market centers. And I mean, had a similar, like, here you go, here's what I do, talking, teaching, everything. And I actually remember who it was. I think it was Terry Pearson at the South Valley office. She raised her hand and said, like, why would you share all of this with us? Like, this is, like, she was kind of uncomfortable at how, like, just here you go, Josh was. And he just smiled and said, because none of you will do it.
I know, and I really got to the point where I said,
Yeah.
I just said, I'm going to tell you everything that I did to get to where I'm at. Everything. I'm going to share everything. None of you are. None of you are.
And so let that, like, let's go back to that room. I heard it probably in 2014, 2015 that I heard that. So we just got, I'm just telling you, so none of you are going to do this. And I kind of, that makes me go, I'll show you, like that's my energy around stuff like that. So really, but I agree with Josh, right? Like the average agent, none of them are going to implement any of these things that are so simple. So all we're gonna do today, and I'm gonna have you write on the back of your handout, like as we go through some of these activities, by December 31st, and you're gonna have a list that you leave with that is one piece of paper of what things that if you need to go create a Google business page, if you need to do certain things, I'm going to help you create the list, but I am also going to have you write a date that is not far from now, that's doable, but also makes it so that your systems start out for 2025 where you are gonna do it, you're gonna go get these things set up, and then you are going to do it. And you're gonna come back and say, wow, implementing these 5, being intentional about these 5 sections of how I create an experience for my clients was the difference. It was the difference, okay? So I just said that to you and now you're all kind of mad, okay? Let's paint that picture. None of you are gonna do it. Okay, so these are the numbers we talked about. So the cost of a bad experience. So 25% will switch providers. So 1/4 of people will not work with the same person if they have a bad experience. 357,000 negative shares, so losing money in large companies. 19% lose trust when they have a bad experience. That section, although 1/5 of the number, is very hard to rebuild. Very, very, very hard, right? You almost have to have 4 good experiences to offset the bad. And the cost of a bad experience, 59% have no relationship. So the truth is, customers are more apt to share a negative customer experience than share a positive customer experience. Why do you think that is? Well, and you care about your people, right? Your sphere, so you're almost like, I need to warn you of this. Like, let me tell you a tale. Do not go to the Crumble in Fort Union. I'm kidding. I don't know if they're fine. You know what I mean? It's just like, do not go there. There is a really, yeah, it's not good, right? You feel like you need to warn people. Human nature, solid answer. Okay, so this is something that it's a little bit of a segue. I added this because we were talking about the consumer. I talk about the consumer app in the workbook, and it was, what's a nice way to say outdated? Yeah, outdated. So I'm just gonna have this little visual for you as I go through these questions. So, and then we can talk a little bit about tech for a second. Okay, so how would the customer experience you provide change if? Okay, so just think about these as I read them out loud. How would the customer experience you provide change if you used a platform that spoke directly to the consumer app your customers use? You received notifications when consumers downloaded your app and or used it. Customers could communicate with you through it. You could see exactly what your customers' home shopping preferences were and how they changed over time. Your customers had access to customizable digital timelines and checklists that guide them through the home buying and selling process. You could partner with consumers to identify exactly what they want from a real estate experience. And your platform helped you provide ongoing and individualized value even after your customers buy and sell. Okay, so now that we've thought about that, which apps give you the best experience as a consumer? Doesn't have to be real estate related. What app do you just love it? I love it. Amazon. Heck yeah. Why? Why is it such a great experience? Same day. I can quickly see if I can get it the same day, right? Because I need the streamers by tonight. If I can't get the streamers by tonight, I'm gonna have to get in my car, but at least I know, right? So Amazon doesn't let me down if they can't get me them by tonight. They actually provide a great experience because they tell me, hey, streamers, we've got you, but not until Thursday. And then you go, okay, I gotta go to Target. But you know what to expect. And when it says, hey, you want that? I'll give it to you in 3 hours, that exceeds your expectation. It's a great example. Yes. And they're like, are you sure? Are you sure? What was wrong with it? I'm like, I don't know, because I never try anything on. That's the answer for everything. Just kidding. Okay, so most apps serve us best when they are able to collect data on our preferences and customize our experience. So that's another thing too that I always am like that with you, Risa. Like I go to Amazon because I have a specific reason. And yet, if I just happened along it, it also does the like, oh, you like these type of jeans. Do you want this? 5 other options. Oh, you like dining chairs? I bet you'll like these ones too. So they, more than any other app, I'll use the dining chairs as an example because that's an actual real world thing for Kimber right now. The reason why they're going to get my sale is because the one I originally clicked on that I got from the lead capture somewhere else, it sure didn't provide what I needed. It wasn't the right material. And yet they're gonna give me as many options as I need to find what I do need. And so I'm not gonna be going and jumping around to a ton of different places, right? And they have that information so they can provide that experience. So the reason why part of reimagining the customer experience is that we provide a different experience with the technology that we have. So our current consumer app, I have a whole class on this, but the little key takeaways that I'll put in this one slide is that driving your consumer app that you have, your Keller Williams consumer app, the benefits of these things specifically is you have the ability, and I'm speaking to this in the tech we have. If you have different technology, I want you to quickly just go through this list if your app that you're using provides this. are you able to capture leads with your consumer app or with the app you're telling your clients to use? Are they able to look at neighborhoods? Remember, we pulled up that buyer list as far as things we are going to help buyers with. Are they able to pull specific neighborhood insights for an area they're interested in? Can you create saved searches in that app? And then is it, I say branded to you, but is your name anywhere, right? Because up until that last one, you might have said, yes, I send my clients to Zillow all the time. I'll just throw out Zillow. We're not picking on them. I'm just throwing them out because it's a name, right? Because I can, I guess, if I'm paying a certain amount, capture leads there. I can go say, hey, go look at these little neighborhood things there. I can go even create saved searches in MLS. The last little piece, and I think the MLS does this too, but is it branded to you? You want it to all come back to you. So utilizing a tool like a consumer app where your clients are searching for homes and you can have visibility to it, why does that benefit you? This isn't a trick question. Just why would this benefit you? Okay. Like it?
They don't come across another agent.
Okay. Yes. Not to be understated. Right? They stay in your ecosystem. The visibility to not only the frequency of what they're doing, but also what they're interested in. A little funny thing about working with a customer, and you've done this too. When you walk into a clothing store and someone says, can I help you with anything? You're like, absolutely, and I'm just looking, never needed anything in my life. And you're like, please don't talk to me, right? And you just keep walking, right? But you're looking for the high-waisted trouser that will be really great for your work conference, or you're looking for the specific tie or the specific suit, right? Yes, ma'am, you can help me, but I am not capable of taking help / articulating what I need to you in human words and in a sentence, right? So we do this to other people, so of course everyone's gonna do it to us, right? They're not that interested. They told you, well, I'm just looking in a certain area, but they are looking at their home search app every day, and now they're looking in a neighborhood. You're like, wait, they're looking in Woods Cross? I didn't know they were interested in that neighborhood. Like, but you can see if you have them using certain consumer apps, you can have them have, you can see the visibility to that. And you're not gonna be creepy, right? And be like, hey, I saw that you were looking, you logged into the app about 10 minutes ago. What are you doing? No, you're not gonna do that. And you're going to just have a quick view of what they're interested in. This provides a better customer experience. Why? Because you're like, Kimber, you just sold me that you get to just see everything, and that's kind of creepy.
And a lot of times, when you first talk to the client, they're gonna tell you one thing,
Mm-hmm.
but what do they end up buying? It's completely opposite, or what they told you they weren't
Uh-huh.
interested in at all.
Yeah.
So by you being able to see what they're, okay, well, they started looking at this, oh, now they're over here in Woods Cross,
Yeah.
you can see where their mindset is kind of going.
And you can ask focusing questions. So the way to not be creepy with the data you have is not saying, oh, I saw you were looking in Woods Cross. You could say, is there, I know since we've talked, it's been about 2 months since we initially talked about your search. Are there any other areas outside of Saratoga Springs that you were looking at? And then that's a different thing, right? Because now you've helped me at least articulate to the example of I'm walking around a clothing store. Now you've helped me articulate that I do need help and I need help in this way. Because I can easily say, you know what? Yes. So because my husband's getting a job at the airport, we were actually thinking it might make more sense if we just stay out there. And then you're like, oh, okay. Right? So it's information. I want to show you this as an example of a technology piece that you can use to do that. But we're also going to go through a quick needs analysis, like a buyer and seller intake form that does a similar thing. You're just going to be really intentional up front about what information you get from your client so that the rest of the experience can be nothing if not intentional. So yeah, that's a great point. Okay, so we are going to reimagine our customer experience today. So this looks like, especially for someone either new to Keller Williams or someone that's never been with Keller Williams, this looks like a word spelled incorrectly. But it is actual little, it's not even an acronym, it's just like a little saying we got. Yeah. So this is our belief system. So, but why we bring it up in customer experience is it's so applicable to how we know we're checking the experience we're providing against what our belief system is here. So we created an acronym so it's slightly easier to remember. I'm going to read through it for you because I don't think, yeah, that doesn't show it. Okay, so the W stands for win-win or no deal. Integrity, do the right thing. Customers always come first. Commitment in all things. So there's, yeah, 4 C's. That's why there's the 3 or the 4. Communication, seek first to understand. That is my favorite and the one I feel like I use constantly. I actually, when I'm about to, this is a little hack, when I'm about to ask someone a question, I feel like they're maybe not going to be stoked that I ask. But I want to put a little barrier of like, don't judge me, but. I could say, don't judge me, but. But I say, so let me ask you a question. Seek first to understand. Why would that benefit you? Because if someone said they're really worried about XYZ or they need to get this, right? Our clients tell us a lot of things. Rather than say, well, why do you want that? Said differently, seek first to understand what about that is important to you. It just kind of, and you don't even have to say it out loud, but I do because I want them to know I'm coming into this trying to understand your point of view. And then creativity, ideas before results. Teamwork, together everyone achieves more. That's a staple. Trust starts with honesty, very important in our industry. Equity, opportunities for all, and success results through people. So those things are all, again, they're on our website on that form. You have access to the whole book, but this is what we call just the foundation for a great customer experience. Any thoughts from that one before we get into the first exercise? It shouldn't be. There's a slide deck and then there's also a student workbook. Does the slide deck look a little different? No. I mean, I may have added a couple of slides, but it shouldn't be off by much. Like this one I might have added. But I'll look at it when we do a little activity. Okay, any ahas from the first little bit we went over? Kind of setting the foundation. It helps it stick in our brains more and learning through all of this. Keller Williams University. Okay, know thy customer and thyself is the first chapter. Aren't you excited that we've been through an hour and we're at the first chapter? Just kidding, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine, you guys. Okay, so without customers, our businesses are not very useful. We would not be in business. It's very obvious. Okay, so the age of a customer. So this is a good little visual. So in the manufacturing days, the 1900s to 1960, customers operated in more of days, right? Like yeah, get back to me when you can. I'll talk to you on Friday, right? We're just a little bit more, like, we'll get back to you out there. We're a little bit more slower paced. When we were in the distribution phase, 1960 to 1990, we're more a little bit minutes, right? So we have more urgency around things. 1990 to 2010, things kind of picked up. We're in an information age, World Wide Web, www. Right? That made information and the access to it available within seconds, right? I think it is funny if you, one day I will tell my kids this, and I think they will laugh at me, but there used to be computer games that I would put into a computer on a CD that I don't think they don't even watch DVDs, so I don't even think they know what that is. And I put it into the computer, and then I'd play this game, and you'd learn about like tigers and like different parts of the world. It was called like Encarta. I'm looking at you, and you're the wrong person to be looking at for validation because you're very young. But it was like an encyclopedia, but the CD-ROM version, you know, and you could just find the coolest things. And I just think about the fact that I went and grabbed that out of the case, put it in there, let it load, put in my name, clicked. Like, I'm already like 5 miles down the road, right? When we're talking about Google and Wikipedia and all the things, right? So those are seconds. So now our attention span is gone. It's goodbye, everybody. Goodbye to everyone's attention span. Customers, they want it now. It is instant. It is not seconds. It is available to me, right? So the technology piece that we're going to talk about, some of these systems, are very important. When we talk about even our reviews today, your ability to even get a review to someone is directly correlated to you being able to send them a link that when they go click on it, it immediately takes them to where they go put in their review. That's the only way you're getting it, right? If there's any other, go to my website and find it, you're done, right? Because we're in this past stage. So we're gonna put the speed, we're talking about age of customer, because we're gonna put that speed in relation to all the things that we talk about, why it's so important. There's a lot of urgency with what we provide and how we provide it to our clients. Okay, so the value, I told you the numbers would make sense. So I don't think it matters that this is fairly, as far as we've always been a little bit above national average as far as sales price. And it doesn't matter because I would actually rather have this number be conservative for all of you because it proves how valuable a customer is. Okay, so this is just based on, I think, 2010 NAR average for sales price. Okay, but here's where we're gonna paint the picture. Okay, so first time they buy a house from us, we're just gonna use this number, $259,100. Okay, 3% commission, they're about $8,000. Then, let's say 10 years from now, they sell their home and they also purchase another one. And they just have factored into here like 3% attrition, okay? So those are the numbers. Then let's say year 20, they've got a second home sale, third home purchase, 3% commission. So just on this one person, conservatively numbers, but also conservative in the fact that probably most people are selling more frequently than these ranges, maybe a little less. Each customer has a value over 20 years of $67,455. And we know this number is way higher now. But I love with goals, stuff like that, that we kind of speak conservative because we're still going to be shocked by the number on the next slide. A lot of you I know are, who wants to, let's pick on all of you because I know I've got some veterans in here. What's the like highest number you have for repeat? Becky, can you think of one where you've had a client where you've sold them? Yeah. Okay. And that's not even like, this is still blinders on. We're not even talking about of these clients, the amount of other business potentially, kids that you're starting to help, right? Okay, so now we're gonna add a different level to this, okay? So we're gonna just take the math from here, because again, I said we're gonna be skipping a few so we can get 8 hours in 4. We're gonna go through and do this exercise together. So again, you can just use like the back of your paper or use one of these. We're about to do this know thyself exercise. You could even do it on like the front cover of this. But I wanted you to do your realistic number as far as the size of your database. Okay. So you have to know that number. I'm just gonna put 200 on the board, but I would love if you just wrote down, I know a lot of you know your number off the top of your head. Put that number down as how many people are in your database. And then we might need to get out our calculators. That 29% is NAR average as far as of your clients, those that will be repeat and referral. So that's just a statistical average we can use. So I'm going to take my 200 times by 20. Ooh, sorry. Okay. Oh, did I do that right? Hold on. Let me just check my work. I'm like, I think I did that right. There, I did it. I'm just questioning myself. Okay. Okay, so 58, and then I'm gonna do the exact same number. 58, and then total repeat and referral. So I'm gonna add those two together. That's 116. And then I'm gonna take 116 times by, again, the very conservative 67,455. Oh yeah, okay. Okay, who wants to read that number out loud? Yeah, uh-huh. $7 million is the value of one customer. Okay, let the silence do the heavy lifting. It's the same conversation I have around 36 Tech when I tell everybody, if you reach out to people 36 times in a year and you have 150 people in your database, you're gonna make $100,000. And they're like, yeah, cool. What, like to Josh's point when we said earlier, what else? What are you not telling me, right? So this is a number. This is the number, 7.8 million for each person. And we didn't just take the number of our database. We added in two important numbers, which is NAR average says you will get 29% if doing all of these systems correctly and intentionally, 29% repeat referral business. So does this number get you somewhat excited about potentially being more intentional about getting repeat referral business? Someone tell me what you're thinking, other than Kimber might not know how to use a calculator. Just kidding.
I think it's awesome. I've never really done the math for those. Like, going down that deep, but, I know that the whole business is customer delivery, customer service, that's the point where I was told that we were doing close to 500 transactions a year. So it's a performance.
And the only reason, push back, but I'll just say what I'm thinking. The only reason why you were able to sell that is because there's a value attached to it based on predictable income, predictable business that comes from that said database. I'm just saying, like, that's how I interpret that.
Yeah.
And
the thing is it-
tell me,
Because the business was systematized, it no longer relied on me as the individual, and that's what made the business happen. So a lot of people will build a business and it's just like, hey, they know me, they like me, they trust me, and you go somewhere and what the hell happens. But people don't use you because of you, they use you because of your standards of integrity. So if you build systems that helps you maintain those standards of integrity, then all of a sudden you have a business, not just a job, you have a business, and that's sold.
there it is. Okay. So we nicely highlighted the only things that you guys need to worry about in order to provide that experience, right? Because we're going to get, now that we know what the income potential is, we're going to get repeat referral business. You work so hard to get a client and to create that experience, and why not capitalize on that, right? That's how people start from square one and build a business. That there is a reason why there are a lot of people that you're surrounded by on a daily basis that have been agents longer than 5 years, right? It's because they have people that keep coming back. I mean, Melanie, you're at what, 20? You're like, please don't point out numbers like that. Just kidding. 26 years in real estate, right? If you weren't making money doing it, you would not be doing it. You wouldn't be continuing to do it. You also love it too, but you wouldn't be continuing to do it if you didn't make money. Okay, so here are the things that we need to do. This is why they need us. So customers need our help. So this is what we're doing that we're either going to make sure we're doing or we're going to elevate that we're doing. For a buyer, we're helping them find the right home. We're helping them negotiate terms, help with price negotiations, comparing homes, and paperwork. Okay, those are the top needs that customers need our help with. For sellers, helping market the home, price, sell in a specific time frame, help find a buyer, help sellers find ways to fix up the home to sell it for more, right? Like what they net, super important. Here's what they look for in an agent. So this is what we need to be. So for a buyer or an agent representing a buyer, they just want us to be honest and trustworthy, have experience, or be partnered with a coach, a mentor, a team that has experience as we gain experience. Reputation of the agent. Like I said, right now, it's just like every transaction is so important, and those are the things that build your reputation, and the bad experience is a lot of time to fix that, right? Your close friends and family members. And then knowledge of a specific area. It's important in the sense of you don't have to be the king or queen of the neighborhood, and knowing about the area, what's changing, the turnover rate, all of that is important. And then for a seller, their reputation, again, honest, trustworthy, friends, knowledge of the neighborhood, caring personality, and a good listener. I think that was an interesting comment. But they're very similar for buyer and sellers. So these are the top needs that we're going to focus on. Okay, so now you're going to open up your workbook. What story do you want your customers to tell about you? Let me make sure I have the right page. And if I put them in the wrong order, I'm going to be really happy with myself. Or I didn't even print it. Oh, that's so great. Hold on. Okay. What? Give me 2 seconds. I'm like, where is this? Okay, well, don't look at the slide. I will, as you guys write this down, I will figure out what's happening. So your CX system, you are going to write the portrait of your customer today and what value do you bring to your customer. So who is the person that you are helping? And I'm going to use this to help out anybody that's newer to the industry. If you are brand new, like maybe you haven't even sold a home, who do you want that customer to be? What would be an ideal if I had to work with fill in the blank type of customer? What would that person look like? And then right below, what value do I bring to my customer? So let's just fill out those two. And you can do these as bullet points, like I am responsive. Again, I'm not saying that these are good or bad, but like maybe you are I will respond to you regardless of the hour. Maybe you're a person, you don't do that, but you're very clear about the hours of the day that you do respond. Like, what are those things that you're like, I am really good at that? Oh. Great question. We have plenty of pens. Grab one of those. And I'm going to figure out what the heck's happening with my slides. Okay, so here's the weird thing, but we're gonna be fine. We're gonna pivot. I just didn't print the story one, and I printed the how will I incorporate delivering instead. So on the back of the page you just wrote on, I just want you to write, what story do I want my customers to tell about me as well? So you'll still fill out portrait of my customer, what value do I bring, and then just on the back of that page, just write, what story do I want my customers to tell about me? So it's kind of bringing those two together. And then we're not even going to touch the second page, so you don't need to worry about that. I was like, what happened? What happened, Kimber? Okay, I'm going to give you 2 more minutes. So then we can kind of discuss. Yeah. Let me look at which ones. They should be, but if they're not, oh, that's the wrong one. Um, I'll make sure that I link that just so you guys have it for future. But I will pull up, we should be pretty in line as far as if you wanted a visual in front of you, just by clicking on the workbook. Yeah. That's one I would click on. That's the best. Yeah. And then I will get that linked so that you guys have the slide deck for going back to it outside of the class. This will be the best one for right now. Because it'll at least have the slides in there. Thanks for bringing that up. That was, this was just, it's like the website part down here. So sorry about that. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay. So I know we have like a blank page for what story do I want my customers to tell about me. I'm not going to make anybody share theirs, but the takeaway from this is if you're not clear about what you want your customers to say about you, then you need to be. Did anyone have a hard time when you're writing out what story do I want my customers to tell about me? Did anyone have a hard time doing that? What was maybe, does anyone want to share one thing that you just said, I really want, if I like accidentally overheard a conversation of one of the people I worked with say something, what story do I want them to tell?
The one thing I put down was how I made the process fun and as stress-free as possible.
I love that. So then those are going to be, as we go through standards, things that are going to eliminate that. So you're going to have specific communication standards around that. And then anything, I guess my input on fun would be if you're doing too many of the things, right? Like let's say you don't have transaction coordinator, leverage, things like that, then you might not be able to be fun. If I'm doing, busy bee, I'm not very fun because I have to be the task person, right? So that could be something that as we talk about communication standards that you're gonna follow as well. Anyone else on story? Okay, so back to the one that is like 10 slides ahead, so that's great. Portrait of your customer today and what value do you bring? Does anyone want to share something on that? That they wrote down?
I'll read the portrait one.
Yeah, please.
My customer has a real estate goal, they fully invest in it, they ask great questions, and they're both learning based and action oriented. They're comfortable with my direct approach to real estate and trusting with their
Why does being so clear about the person you serve help you with your customer experience?
RAS baby. Sorry. Reticular activator system.
You know what's so fun is that in the set section, we actually have an example of a RAS script that, who knows, we probably pulled from some folder that was like stuff Josh Cern says. We don't know, but now you guys have it.
Holy shit.
So I love that. Is it? We save everything you say and do.
That is 100%.
I guess the next question is, are you okay with us just giving this to everybody?
That is crazy.
And we can always take it off, but you can't, no take backs for this class. This class gets it.
No,
But we'll remove it after today. Just kidding. Okay, this is the because nobody's gonna do it, right? This is probably what you handed out that day.
No, I'm seriously.
Okay.
36 nobody's gonna do it, although I said it and I challenged a few people like you have since done. Right?
Yeah.
So that's why I changed the tune and I actually started the class with, by the way, what I'm about to teach you, no, it's here. And then that set the tone for those people that were like, oh, shit.
How I'm gonna connect it to your customer experience is, I don't really even remember what the title of that class was. I really don't. Like, I don't know exactly what you were teaching, but I remember that. And I think doing something out of the ordinary and breaking that barrier is what makes you and what you were teaching memorable. That's all we're doing in what we provide as real estate agents. We're just doing something different that makes us unforgettable. We're just setting up a couple of systems. Isn't this funny?
Yeah, that's great.
We don't get rid of anything, okay? Let's be honest. Yeah, so on that same page, so under set, which this chapter we're about to start, it's on there as, yeah, under setting the expectation. There you go. Good times. Okay, does anyone want to share their value they bring to the customer, or just like maybe some bullet points? Jamie, what's a value that everyone working with Jamie gets? Yeah, those are huge pieces of value for somebody, right? So in what we're talking about, it's more just like, how is what I do, how do I translate that? And a lot of them are going to be second nature. When I showed you that list of things that you do as an agent to help buyers and sellers, you don't need to be like, and this is where I'm honest, let me write this down. That's just second nature, but there are going to be some things that we want to have system-based, right?
Along with that, for the newer agents, one thing that I was told way back when
Mm-hmm.
was that, to let your clients know that you have a team of experts. You may not be on a team, which is fine. I guess.
Yeah.
But your team is your lenders, your title, your home warranty, the inspectors, all of that, because that's, especially with first-time home buyers, they're scared to death. They've never been through this. They don't know what to do. And that totally eases their mind that, oh, okay, she's got my back on all of this.
Well, I certainly think you're right about because the agents do have, like a hard time keeping some business for a long time. But it's not just your preferred vendors, but it's also the market center that you work at. But the way that you talk with clients, especially if you're a newer, agent, should be in terms of we can take care of that for you. Like, here's what we'll do. Instead of, every word there'll be I. Instead of using the word I, use we. Because all of you guys have a team of people, and the way that you talk is confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I know this sounds funny, but sometimes you want to use we and all of that phrasing because it's not just you. And so if my transaction coordinator calls and asks you for like something personal or like, what's your middle name and what's your legal whatever, and they're like, who are you? Right? So sometimes there's system reasons behind that. I'm sure Heather and Mike Carmody deal with that a lot. Like they initially, when they're not repeat clients, it's like Mike, and then if you aren't intentional about how Mike introduces you, they'd be like, hi, Heather, who are you? Are you okay if I put you on the spot? And I'm currently putting you on the spot by asking you that. So what's an example of how you tee that up for your team? Where if Mike's talking to somebody and they happen to hand off to Heather.
So I think again, it's just kind of on that initial appointment, it's like, or even like when you're dealing with an agent, you're saying, hey, Heather's going to over the file from here, so she'll be in contact and, make sure that you get CC on any of the documents, so it's stating what that expectation is, whether it be with a client or with another agent or a member, that, basically I can be my client, so either way, that's the information or all, moving towards the same goal.
And the reason why I asked you that, because I know we're talking about being customer centric, but the reason why I asked you that is here's an example of something as simple as clearly setting the expectation of communication is a way to provide elevated customer service and a customer experience for someone. That it doesn't seem like that's essential, and you'd be surprised at how many people are very reactive with something as little as teeing up here, hi, I'm your transaction coordinator, or Heather's gonna take it from here, or whatever the communication is.
Well, I think too, like all of our marketing has hold of us, so they're already like receiving that, so then kind of like yeah, we know that we get more on that and that's okay. So even though like if I'm not on the appointment, then they still beforehand that they're, getting our
Was that intentional or just a happy accident, as Bob Ross would say?
no, it's definitely intentional.
Yeah.
Whoever's on your team, you want to have those people, be face to face with, that 5 seconds before they throw out the garbage, that they see your face.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm getting a little warm too. There you go. Thanks. I feel better now. Okay, so here's the visual for being customer centric. So listen, exceeds expectations, putting your customer first, being memorable, the story I pointed out with Josh, understanding, caring, providing value, and communicating, right? So that's what we're working towards. Okay, so staying relevant. This is how we stay relevant with our clients, knowing the market, knowing their demographic, knowing their preferred communication styles, and knowing their value proposition. Yes, sir.
Just number 2, pausing on the word communication. Certain styles like an I, IS.
Yep.
But just understanding that communication and information
Mm-hmm.
information and sending out a text message, but real communication is happening, with your voice, with listening to what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
not happening through text message, so I just want to make sure that's clear. Because even though even a lot of people do prefer text for bits and pieces, that's still informational. It's not real communication.
Yeah. Well, and not always, but sometimes a lot of the, like, let's say you're at a certain deadline or something goes under contract, sometimes you can even automate that email communication. And anytime we talk about automating or doing drip campaigns, and if I get kickback as far as, well, that's automating the personalized aspect of it, I will say, no, we want to automate as much as possible so that you do have time to be prospecting-based marketing enhanced, that you do have time to check in because something came in over value and you're good to go. That's good news.
So you
Back to
go
the RAS, yeah.
the RAS strips. So those emails will automate that would send out, but the agent, for the team, the agent would be CC'd on the those emails. Anytime the agent has an email that says good news, that means they pick up the paper on the call. Good news, whatever it is, good news. Okay?
Yeah. And it's, I mean, probably psychological, right? Where it is psychological. Because you're like, hey, good news. Oh, by the way.
Yeah. Good news, inspection is scheduled. Oh my God, what did they find? What are they going to find? Good news, appraisal schedule.
What's the number of times that you would, using that system, intentionally ask for referrals throughout the process? That's the class you were teaching, by the way, now that I remember it. Yeah, it's a decent amount. I'm trying to pull up the manual so I can tell you guys what page it is if you're following along on that. Okay, so top agents can easily explain what services they will provide anyone who hires them. This is your value proposition. So if you cannot easily explain, that's why we had you do that exercise, what services you provide, what is your value, then that's on your homework list, right? So I had you make bullet points of what is your value. It's the services that you provide. So you can use those lists that I gave you as like a cheat sheet, and yet how you do things differently is what sets you apart. Okay, so if you're following along in the manual, we are going to be on page 45, which is the start of chapter 2, which is set. Any ahas? Of mine specifically. So the funny thing is I feel like I lean into the how with everybody else, that it's a little bit back burner sometimes, like my stuff. So one of the lessons I've had from the just even preparing for this class is I need this entire class. Like, I need to check everything that I am currently doing against these systems. So vulnerably, I am a student as a teacher. Don't put that in the review. Like, she said she didn't even know what she was talking about. The elevator pitch.
Well, it's okay. I mean, and that's
Getting asked and not knowing, though, it's a good awareness.
this is all we're trying to demonstrate.
Yeah.
I mean, if I go back to the car,
Hi.
like what do you and Michael have like an actual value proposition?
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of what she's saying. I mean, the whole reason that I'm here is because it's like, I think that, you get things that are systematized and then you kind of get lazy and then you kind of fall off and then you're like, oh articulate why they should choose you and why, what do you provide and how do you do that. So I think that it's, we all get a little bit lazy and then you fall off of your systems and then you have to, oh yeah, let's get back on there. So, I think that it can be clear and it needs to be something that you can, say without like having to, well, let me look at this and say why I'm so great. It has to be something that's internal, that is something that you really feel like it's something that you provide, not just something that you're writing.
Well, here's the coolest thing then, like you're just, we're just hearing from the top agents, you're so proven as an instructor.
Thank you.
And for anybody that's a newer agent, you can totally look at it all. So all you gotta do is come up with an awesome value proposition, and just memorize that thing. So when somebody asks you what you do in the grocery store line or somebody going up the elevator, you can tell, people what it is that you do that's so unique and different than what an average agent would do.
I love that. A check that I would take for myself, even if I had it beautifully written out, is when I say it to you. So first of all is knowing. So we know that. So I don't know. Second of all is, do you believe me when I tell you? Because if you don't believe me,
That's what I'm saying, yeah, it's got to be like, you have to believe that to be internalized, that to be like, something that you're like, okay, this is it.
yes, and the more people that join your organization, / if one other person is a part of your organization, even if you are married, now I'm picking on Kelly too, right? It's like, even if you're married, you have to articulate that, because if your client talks to Kelly or your client talks to Linda, are those two people clearly going to be saying the same thing? About SLC, this is what we do. This is what we provide. This is our standard on how quickly we respond to you. Like those two people, sometimes the organization gets really big, but even at 2 people, you need to do that. So, thank you. Any thoughts that come up similar to Josh's, please raise your hand. I love to hear from everybody's thoughts, even if it's like, I'm realizing I don't have a value proposition. Thanks for asking. Thanks for that. Okay, so we're talking about set. We're on page 46 of the manual. If you're looking at the manual, because you're on the slide deck, because this is the wrong link. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we need to be able to, what standards and systems do we have in place? So we have, now that we have a value proposition, or don't, then we're going to present our value proposition. This is how we're going to, a 3-step simple process to just set expectations. And then we're going to do, which is the impossible, which is listen. Listen to our customer. So their needs, negotiate how we can serve, you can serve them, inquire and understand their expectations. Like I said, the seek first to understand. And sometimes they'll say something that it's good to stop yourself and go, am I hearing something different than what you're saying? So I think it is a good exercise to, and I have learned this very much at Keller Williams. I think there's probably somebody really, Josh Stern probably started this and we don't even know. What I hear you saying is, who started that? Like Tony DeCello or something?
No, you're close, but then
Mike Ferry, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because what's the worst that could happen? I just repeat myself. If anything, I understand what I'm doing more, right? Like it's not the worst thing just to repeat that back.
people don't care if you're listening and then writing things down and then repeating it back for clarity. Boy, is that really a lot of trust.
And potentially saves a lot of time if for some reason you weren't quite on the same page, right? And then seek agreement. So the agent and the customer seek agreement, set mutual expectations, come together, agree. So all those 3, isn't that simple? Okay. Don't let me get on a tangent with this one, but we're on page 48 in the manual. Functionary versus fiduciary. So the reason why I said don't let me get on a tangent is our mission with technology at Keller Williams was tied heavily into this. So, specific to fill in the blank company that has a big search platform, Pillow, or anywhere else, right? The companies that say, oh, we don't need agents. We can just, if you come here and you go click here and put in the deets, like we've got data, it'll just shoot out whatever and then blah, 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 right? A functionary, there are specific things that somebody that is fulfilling a functionary thing can do, and there is fiduciary. So the reason why part of the reason why we're on the mission for technology with Keller Williams is that a functionary can easily do, or a fiduciary can easily do functionary work, but a functionary cannot easily do fiduciary work, / it might be impossible. So I know all of you are familiar with the term fiduciary because we've all learned that in real estate school. And I want you to understand the difference so you are even more enforced about how valuable you are and what you have to provide. So a functionary tells and sells, and a fiduciary serves, educates, and guides. A functionary responds to needs. A fiduciary anticipates needs. A functionary assumes little responsibility, and a fiduciary accepts high responsibility. Just by definition, we accept high responsibility. Functionary completes the task, and fiduciary owns the results. That's probably my favorite comparison one. Functionary delivers information, and a fiduciary advises and consults. A functionary meets expectations, fiduciary exceeds, and a functionary is totally replaceable by Elon Musk's robot. And a fiduciary is irreplaceable. So which one do we want to be? Probably the fiduciary, and not just because it's all in red. We like red. This is the biggest reason. A functionary is a low dollar. I am about to give you a stat that I heard from somebody else, so it's totally irrelevant, okay? So I gave you the disclaimer. But I heard once about when Pillow was doing agents, where they were like, okay, you're just gonna have the agent and it's just through the technology, right? I heard through somebody, a decent source, that the salary was like $50,000 for the agent, right, for the year. Okay, that's not why I got into real estate, right? So fiduciary is different, right? It's not about like, we can just do this, this, and this, and you're good to go. Fiduciary has a high dollar amount, but it also has all of these things as well. Any other comments on fiduciary versus functionary that you guys have learned? I wish I knew the page number off the top of my head, but that is explained in detail in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book as well. Okay, so we're on page 50 of the student manual. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah, oh my gosh, you're just teaching the class before it happens. Stop it. Just kidding. Okay, so on that last tip where it says seek agreement, discuss the buyer's problem with their agent and how you would prevent this from happening. So we are skipping this activity, so ignore what I just showed you. Okay, so this is, before we end chapter 2, we are gonna do this activity. We're not gonna complete it because we wanna move along, but you guys have on your, I think it's the third page in, a few pages in, my CX system. for buyer and seller, and then a list of how you're going to set the expectation and exceed the expectation. This one usually is a little bit more time-consuming activity, so I'm going to give us 5 minutes just so if you're already doing something that you think, you know, like we'll never change this, like we love this, we're killing it at this, then just fill that out of how you're going to set the expectation or how you exceed the expectation. And then we'll go through some ideas with this. So for example, during needs analysis, buyer, I'm going to actually give you this, or it's on our site, but your buyer intake form about asking intentional questions at the beginning of the buyer and seller relationship, that would be what I'm going to put for set expectations. Getting information about what the client needs. That's how I'm going to set. And then exceeds always the, I don't know, right? We might have to think about this, but this is going to be our activity. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes while you start writing those down. I'm going to pull up on the website right underneath Josh's RAS system. I have buyer and seller getting to know you form. So you can plug these in for needs analysis. I'm going to show you these and you're going to maybe like them. And then I'm going to tell you where I got them from. And then you'll probably like them more just because of the person I got them from. So I took a class at Family Reunion. It wasn't like a run into it class. Like I had to pay $200 for it. So it was great. It came totally out of my pocket, but it was the most beneficial class I've ever taken at Keller Williams. And it was called 4 Essential Pillars to Grow Your Luxury Business. So it was put on by the luxury division. But it was funny, as I was attending this class, I thought, this looks very familiar to me. A lot of the systems that the luxury division sets in this class, but also just in what they talk about as far as providing the luxury experience, comes from this customer experience class. So 2 resources that they shared with us in the class, and that's why I've recreated it on Google Forms, so you can go make a copy, and then however you want to get that information, you can do that. But these forms come directly from Caroline Hugh, she's one of the lead over the division for luxury for Keller Williams. Josh Stern. Yeah, she sent it, this is her team one. I just copied it into a Google form.
Does she know numbers 11 and 40 are the same question?
Oh,
If you have editing access, that's just a quick easy fix.
no, she doesn't. Just kidding. Yeah, that's the only repeat one? Okay. Okay, I'll fix the numbers. But just wanted to point that out, but I'll give you a second to fill out anything that you already have completed, already doing, or some of the things you think you could set to set expectation and exceed it. It was just on there twice, so if you didn't like remember it, then you knew you needed to. It was a test. If you can't actually write it down yourself. No, it's so they remember. Do you remember your kids' names? Just kidding. Yeah, so this would be the intake because I'm techie. I'm sharing with you the information. I would go and put it in something like an actual, like a type form. Yeah, because again, I always look at it through the lens of how I would want to receive something. Because I asked myself that question, I do not want to write down anything. And in a lot of cases, you don't want your client's handwriting to be what you get to now interpret, like it's a hieroglyphic, right? Correct. Correct. So, and I'm always thinking about, because again, this is because this luxury playbook was basically built off of customer experience. I'm not just thinking about this is a moment, a needs analysis for a buyer. I'm looking at it as a defining moment. So can I intentionally send them a link that they go fill out and say, please take a minute and fill this out and before the appointment? And then I have had some time to review their answers versus they come to the door and they're like, here's that form you told me to fill out. And now I'm like, hold on, do you like dogs? Like, I know maybe some information because of these questions. I think there's one that like asks about their favorite casual dining spot. So I can be intentional about, oh my gosh, I didn't know you liked that restaurant. My friend is actually the owner of that. And maybe. I mean, if it's still on, yeah, whatever.
So when do you think the most effective time to send something like this is? Because most people won't fill it out unless you send it.
Yeah, so Caroline, when she taught this in the class, she gets it at the beginning, but here's the rule with anything, right? Whether it's before the appointment or after you've sealed the appointment, I look at it, but she says before because there's an opportunity to get information that you can connect with them at a different level by basically you've gone through and you know everything about them. So you can sit there and you don't have to be like, how many kids you got? Do you need a place for your dogs? You're like, this is how Brady Sandall would do something, right? Like, oh, little Zoe, your dog, you need a dog door for that dog. Like, just being intentional. Obviously, he's going to say something way more eloquent than I just did, but he already has that information retained. That's the difference of exceeding expectation and creating a defining moment. Yes, yes. So you can get what works for your system, your personality, and knowing all of this information at the beginning will change the experience you provide in the transaction. Because you took 5 minutes to learn something about somebody else. I'm not going to put anyone on the spot or look anybody in the eyes, but have you gotten through an entire transaction without knowing majority of this information about somebody that wasn't the house questions, the personal questions, where you have no idea what type of food they like, what the, how many kids they have. And is that a problem? I don't know. But Kelly's going to get all that information, so he's your competition. He's going to make sure that his clients know he cares, right? So just know there's always someone out there that's like, well, you're not going to do it, so I'll do it. Yeah, does anyone do an intake form? And it doesn't have to be a fancy tech thing. How do you get information that you would like to learn about the client? Okay. So is it basically like having this in front of you and just taking notes? Okay. Is there something you do, Becky? Okay. Do you just do it in like a conversational, or do you kind of do the techie, like send them something ahead of time? Okay. Mhm. If you can think about, so I understand if you don't know the answer to this, but is there something you can remember or recall from asking some of this information at that appointment that it was nice to know throughout it? Can you think of something off the top of your head? Yeah. Yeah. So I did, for 10 years, I had a dog that I was that annoying person that I think my parents were genuinely worried, like, that we're just never getting grandkids. We're for sure never getting grandkids. Because I was like, why get a kid when you have a perfect Maltese Shih Tzu? You know, like it's perfect. And obviously I had kids after, and then I understood, okay, like I understand that is a dog, that's a canine, this is a human. Like personally, this is my personal experience, I understood the difference. And if I had never decided to have a family, like that dog was my life. And the unfortunate thing about canines is that they do not live as long as humans. Like that's just, we gotta figure that out. Like if we, do this again, if there's like another life, gotta figure that part out. So it's just, yeah, again, but some people, they're like, I don't like animals. So they're like, they don't care about your question. What'd you say? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, there you go, to talk about don't eat processed food or drink Diet Dr. Pepper. Okay. Yes, yeah, they're under just buyer form and seller form. Okay, so anything else, again, this is, like I gave you a few minutes to write stuff down, but this is not, this is like it's gonna take a minute, right? Because you may go through this and go, how do I set expectation when they search for homes? I don't know, I help them search for homes, right? So setting the expectation though, to Josh's point earlier about information and communication, a lot of this is going to be, my question for you would be, how am I communicating the process that I am currently doing? And if I don't have a process, what is the process that I need to implement and then communicate, right? Exceeding expectation, this is where we do get on that subject a little bit of defining moments that they talked about in the luxury class that I went to, which is what you'll do and what you'll say. So they kind of phrase it a little bit differently. So it's not just setting expectations and exceeding expectations. They're also asking, what are you going to do during that? And what are you going to say? So for me, and I'm going to write that down. Because how am I set expectation and exceed? That's great, but just each of these sections, in closing, what am I doing? What am I saying? This is an easy way to start creating these systems. Is there something that I'm doing, and what am I saying? Exceeding expectations is definitely the extra credit section. But it's good to be thinking about when you're talking about being an above average agent. How am I exceeding the expectations? I'm anticipating the needs versus just meeting the needs. Okay, I'm gonna jump back over here. And just so you guys know, so we're jumping into chapter 3, because we're just blazing through till 3:30. If at any time you're like, I need a break, I need to go get a drink, I need to go to the bathroom, like, you're good. You could just leave. I won't be like, where are you going, Jamie? Just kidding. See, I won't do that. I did it for Jamie, but I won't do it for the rest of you. Just kidding. Yes, exceed expectations, serve, yeah. Okay, so if you are following along in the manual, I've been doing that for Becky. We're on serve, the chapter serve. So I'm starting to get, this last hour and a half is my favorite part of the class, okay? So it's about me. Just kidding, I'm kidding. Okay, I'm just gonna jump over to our activities so I make sure I don't miss any. Just gonna make sure. Okay. We are good to go. Okay, so your integrity is challenged every time you fail to deliver on what you say to do, on what you say you will do. We all just had one little weird thing flash in our head, like a memory, right? Something we said we were going to do that we didn't deliver on. We love a good Venn diagram. Words, actions, needs in the middle. What's in the middle is integrity. Okay. So the truth is, people conduct business with people they trust. So we're going to do this in a minute. So just have this out. It's just the next page. We're going to go through our standards. So have this out, but we'll go through this in a minute. We just have to have standards first, okay? So standards for our business and for how we operate. So the myth is my clients will only work with me, only I can deliver the quality of service. Remember when I said at the beginning of this class is not about you. You don't get to be here today. It's about everybody else and the people you serve. That was the opposite of that, right? That's as if if it was still all about you. I am just such a great agent. I don't even know why they would work with anybody else. I mean, I bring them crumble cookies at closing. Yeah, still. Like, I mean, who else are you going to work with, right? That's very ego. Truth is, your clients aren't loyal to you. They don't care about Josh. They don't care about Melanie. Ugh. But they do care about the standards that you represent. They do care that you are fun. I mean, really. They care that working with you and with your crazy mom that we love, Linda, is fun. It's fun. She probably loves that. I just called her crazy. Don't tell her I called her crazy. Yeah. Oh, good times. Oh. Okay. So what the heck am I looking at? Hold on, I gotta move to the manual so I make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, so a standard is the yardstick of your performance, and like a yardstick, it is a measure of how well you're performing. So your transactions are going to go up with new business, and your service level will go up. When you have new business plus referrals, right? Why is it more important to have your service level higher on that second one? Becky, we're on page 62, if you jump over. Yeah.
And it's also, when you have a higher service level, that means you probably have some sort of system in place to a higher level of clientele.
Perfect.
Also the trust. Your clients trust you
Yep.
and the people you're involved with other people.
Yep. Your standards define your service and should directly affect the level of customer experience you provide. Hence the phrases, we have high standards, that meets our standards, that measures up to our standards. They have low standards, that's below our standards, or they have no standards. Right? We can only tell them so much. They have to be able to feel it. And this is the part that is the most concerning. Transactions going up and service level going down. If we had standards and systems, that's not going to happen, right? But if we're just doing transaction to transaction, and heaven forbid an ad hits right and we get like 6 deals at one time that just came out of nowhere, right? Transactions are going up. We're doing great. But is it like standards? What standards? We don't have time for standards, right? If we have the standards set in place, then we do have standards. So it doesn't matter how much the transactions go up, the service level is going to maintain itself. What's the most important thing about the service level maintaining itself? People want to refer us. If we are an unpredictable hurricane of, well, I don't know, let me call her and see how busy she is first to see if it's good if I tell her to call, like, I don't know if you want to call Linda to sell your house right now. She might be busy, right? So we want to have these standards. So this page, we're going to pull out. General standards, communication standards, mindset and image standards. Did you know there were so many categories for standards? Now you do. Technology standards, standards for vendors, standards for teams. We're going to take 5 minutes and fill out, if we have standards right now, put those in there. And then any standards we feel like we still need to work on or set, you can put those on there as well. I would just maybe even like circle the ones that you don't feel like are set up as a full standard right now. Like if a communication standard is we get back to everybody that reaches out to us, agents, clients, vendors within 24 hours, then put that as your standard. If you're like, I would love to set the standard to get back to people within 24 hours, put it down, but I would just do something like star it or circle it so you know this isn't set in stone yet. People aren't saying this from the rooftops yet. I don't know if this is quite enforced yet in yourself or your team. Okay, so take 5 minutes and write down your standards, at least the ones that you can think about right here. And I love that these are categorized because it lets you think about not just what are your standards, mindset and image standards this is the luxury class. They went down with this a lot. Brady Sandall, his team that he runs out of Palm Springs, they actually, every single person, photographer, inspector, every single person that works with their team comes to the property in the exact same shirt. A black shirt with the logo. And you're like, there's no way my inspector's gonna wear that when they work on my house. Okay, well, these are $3 million homes, and I can find a different inspector, right? But then it helps create, because part of his image standard is the brand, but also that it's not like their client that answers the door knows immediately. First of all, if they look at the Ring camera, they can see, oh, this isn't somebody that I may not know. This is that inspector that my agent said was going to come today. He's just 30 minutes early. But there's an image standard, right? So that, again, that is very fancy. It's the luxury class. But do you have any of those? Or does something like that, even just maybe for you and your team, sound like something of a standard you would want to set? Does anyone want to share a standard that they wrote down? Something that you already do. It is a standard of yours. You feel pretty proud about it. Be on time. Okay. Easy, but very impactful. I love that. In any category. Who wrote down one they want to share?
I put down organized.
Organized. And what is that, just general standards? Okay. Perfect. Melanie, were you going to say one?
Yeah, one thing that we've done for a very, very long time, when we go on a listing appointment, if they have kids, how hard is it to get your kids to keep their room clean, keep the house clean while the home is being shown? And so we have a basket that we'll take that it's either for smaller kids or bigger kids, we can give them something right then and there, that this is, you're promising us that you're gonna help mom and dad clean the house. And then we also tell them that we'll have them sign a little contract with us. So now they're part of this home selling process. And if they do what we've kind of set forth, and the parents will say, hey, yes, they did everything, then they have an end prize. And that could be like ice cream, movie tickets, things like that, but it keeps them involved.
That is a defining moment for sure. So Brady, Caroline, the luxury community, they would say that that is a defining moment because you're being super intentional about incorporating the entire family, and seeing little faces light up is not to be understated as far as the little end prize.
Because a lot of times
That's huge for them,
kids are having a hard time
right?
leaving their friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that example. Does anyone want to share one that they wrote down, but they're like, I'm gonna have to implement this. This isn't set in stone yet. Not everybody's on board yet. So you're saying, I would put that maybe under communication standards. Like, do I have a standard that everybody in my database gets a newsletter once a month? That kind of thing. Okay, good. No, it's good to have ones that we don't already have, right? Because sometimes we have to. Okay. Great. Okay, I am here to inform you. We're only a tiny bit behind, but not bad. So don't be worried. It's gonna be fine. Okay, we are on survey now. So in the manual, it's page 80, 88, 87. We are going to have an activity with survey, but we're going to do it in a minute. So if you want to move to that activity, you can. And we'll do that in a second. This kind of gets into asking people for feedback, which this is my favorite chapter. I've had personality profiles like the KPA, all those fun. There's a lot of cool personality profiles out there that you can learn a lot about yourself. Mine always has a resounding, I love to collaborate with people. Like I actually get energy around that. And if anything, it's just kind of getting I love seeing another perspective. And so surveying other people that we're working with just to check in, right? We're going to put a system around that. Again, to your point at the beginning, or when we talked about like who this class is about, it's not about you. This makes it about everybody else and asking where they are at. So the basics of surveying are just checking in frequently. Asking for feedback with surveys, reviews, and testimonials. We're going to talk about that in a second, so I'm going to just skip through it. And then tracking your customer service score. This is, again, just going through all of these 5 points that we're going through and making sure that you have all of them set in place. And then making improvements around that. So the truth is the customer's point of view is the only one that counts. Some of these truths, I'm like, oh, they're kind of a good check-in. Okay, so these are the added ones, okay? So if I added a little bit of this content this morning, but I wanted to point out this is a current and relevant thing right now. So as far as when we're talking about asking for feedback, so these are the stats around reviews and getting feedback and getting testimonials. So 86% of consumers read online reviews for local businesses. Said differently, 86% of consumers are vetting the company against other people's experience. 68% of consumers were more likely to buy from a local business with positive online reviews. Makes sense. For 89% of customers, testimonials are considered the most effective content marketing tactic. 90% of consumers say buying decisions are greatly influenced by positive reviews. Okay, so now that we have the stats around, this is really important. This is something I rolled across today. So this is hot off the press as of about midnight. The Federal Trade Commission is now, they made a rule banning fake online reviews that goes into effect. So why this is such a big deal is now there's going to be a federal rule on banning fake online reviews. What that is there was a big industry, specifically with products like retail, things like maybe Sephora or makeup products, anything like that, where you would see something like a verified purchase, but also you'd see like sponsored review. Basically, people getting paid to make positive reviews, right? So the Federal Trade Commission has ruled that you cannot sell or purchase reviews anymore. I think this is so interesting because a whole industry or multiple industries were probably created around, well, if people want positive reviews, let's just make them available to buy. That sounds like, and we'll create this company around this and we'll tell people we'll get this result. And there's a lot of time, money, and effort spent in getting a review that isn't real. Putting that same amount of effort, time, money, and effort into providing a really great experience, and then just asking the person that you worked with about leaving a review about the experience, does that feel a tiny bit easier? A little bit more genuine? So I thought, whoa, this is relevant that I'm scrolling past this today, that even the Federal Trade Commission is like, hey, like, just go actually get people that really want to work with you and have them leave you a review, because you're not going to pay for it anymore. So real is more important than ever. We get fed so much that sometimes we don't know what's up or down. So really it is more of that actual tangible experience, and that actual relationship is what is going to matter most, right? So I'm gonna jump over to our site. This is probably one of the most common questions that I get asked: how to get your Google reviews link. So what we have done on here is just given you a quick step-by-step of how to find your Google review link in order to quickly share. The first step, however, though, is you need a Google business page. So you'll want to go create a Google business page for yourself. And then once you do, then you can follow these instructions. So this is my personal recommendation, and I would love if anyone else has something that they've used that works to chime in. Google carries a lot of weight as far as a business, a service, an industry, as far as reviews are concerned. So I personally like to capture the review on Google. Once it's in Google, I can copy that text and do whatever I want with that. I can go make it into a cute graphic, like our current testimonials. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. It's under the, so on this website, kwhomehubagent.com/cx, on the bottom where it says survey. Yeah, just do /cx. We just made a landing page for this class specifically. And then you'll go down to survey, and there's just a how to get your.
Oh, I see. I'm on the CX. I just didn't know it was on.
And the reason why I made that is that really this is the most common question, because most people have a Google business page, and then they'll do something like a social post that's like, hey, like, go give me a review, and guess what you did? And now I have to look up, like, heaven forbid I have to Google Becky Nay real estate and then go find your business and then go click on where I find reviews. So this is just making it as easy as possible for someone to do something for you. Okay, and I'm also going to show you this example because I just came upon it and I thought it was really cool. So up here at the top, I just gave you a suggestion because sometimes I'm like, what do I say, right? I have my little Google link and now I don't know what to say as far as asking for reviews. The first way I would do it is going back to that seller RAS document that you have on the page. It's very intentionally throughout the process as far as referrals are concerned, but especially at the end, right? Like when we've had a great experience, right? Like as soon as, I always like to use the med spa example because it's slightly an industry what's the word, like I spend money in. But if you go get like a facial, it's like I can't get to the car before I get the text. It's like, hey, leave me a review. And it's like, if it was a great experience, like my face is still feeling like amazing. Like I just got the massage. I just feel so relaxed. Like that's a great time to send me the review. Like back when my back stiffened up 4 weeks from now, I'm like, well, I forgot, right? So it's kind of the same thing. They just walked in the house. They love this. We just saved $20,000, so we have money on to spend on furniture. Like the emotions are high, and we're happy, and we just got our house. That's the time you want to collect the review. This, I'm just giving you an example of if you want to do like a social post, or you want to send a quick text to some of your close people, or you want to send an email. So I just gave an example of a ChatGPT prompt that I did, so it kind of gave me a quick little caption. I am an agent in Utah that is asking for reviews from my past clients. Can you help me write a post for that? And it just gave me, hi friends, as many of you know, I'm passionate about helping people find their dream homes here in Utah, and your feedback means the world to me, blah, blah, blah. As with anything with AI, I only said I was an agent in Utah. If I had maybe plugged in something like my value proposition, something I already knew that would give this more information about me, I probably would have gotten an even more elevated response, but I didn't give it a lot of information. So a prompt is kind of a good exercise as far as getting familiar with giving it more information to get out a better result. However, I screenshotted down here an example of one of our agents. She's actually at the South Valley office. And this was a social post that she did a couple of days ago. So she just said, I had an idea a few years ago when I started to see more limited service companies come on the real estate scene. I knew I could do better, but I thought, what if I do more? What if I can make the home selling experience almost totally hands-off for my clients? Over the last few years, I built an amazing team of cleaners, stagers, organizers, landscapers, and more. It's been so much fun to bring my dream to life, a full-service company that takes the stress out of preparing a home for the market and gets the home to its highest potential to net my clients the most money with the least amount of stress. It's been so rewarding, so much work, and so much fun. It certainly would not be possible without my trusting clients and my hardworking, talented crew. Someone said, oh, Josh said earlier, right? Like, I know this agent is an individual agent that has help, but not a lot of it. So I think it's cool that she's bringing in stagers, landscapers. She's bringing in her vendors as part of the win. My client wrote these kind words today, and it gave me a little energy to keep it up. If we've worked together in any capacity and you would like to leave me a review, you can do it here. It would mean so much. The graphic, the picture was just a testimonial picture that she had gotten from one of her reviews. Right? Any thoughts around that? She basically said she'd probably go through and kind of clearly identify this more, but I think she did, knowing her and her business, she did identify her value proposition a little bit and then used evidence as an example of here's what someone has said. If you too have also had that experience working with me, this would mean so much to me. But then she didn't say, please Google my business name, and then when you go there, click on reviews. If you don't find it, go do this. She just said, here's a link. Okay. Okay, so tell me about either a time when things have gone wrong or things have gone right. We're on 103 of our manual because we're about to do this survey. Things are going to go right, and they will go wrong, right? So us surveying, I'll put myself on the spot. I had one time where a client was, they purchased a condo, and I knew that her personality was just that very assertive, demanding type, right? That it was always like, I was dealing with her parent more because her parent was the one purchasing the property. And as far as my experience with her, because I had the relationship with her closely, it was very much like when can we do this by? Why didn't we do it yesterday? Like, again, really good relationship, but it was just very, very assertive. And at the end, I had an opportunity to be very clear about the fun little section of our job called possession, right? As far as when you actually get possession of this property, should all of these things, stars line up, right? And she chose to hear one little section of what I said, and I looked back and surveyed myself as far as what I could have done differently. And I'm like, I knew I was dealing with somebody that was only going to hear what they wanted to hear. I should have also followed up in an email with written down exactly what's going to happen. As far as like, don't deliver a couch on Wednesday because you don't have the keys on Wednesday, right? So then I got to deal with the repercussions of a couch that can't be delivered. You guys know it was bad, right? It was like, oh, if I like somewhere to deliver it, you can come to like, and then it was me trying to be like, I will be RC Willie mover. I've lifted a weight this year, just kidding. And the opportunity to make things went wrong, the opportunity to make things right in that sense at that point it was truly like, be proactive and continually follow up and potentially do something that in that instance, like it didn't have to, but I was like, I'll pay the delivery fee if they're gonna charge you to move it. You know, we've all done slightly some of these things in some of these versions, but doing something and making improvements on your process. So now, and I know this might be funny for some of you experienced agents, but I didn't have like written down as part of my process, like when they got possession. It was always like talking to them about it. And like, you'd be like, well, duh, they have all the documents. No, duh, because, right? So that's how I made an improvement in something that's a process for me. And it seemed pretty simple, but this is also the live and learn part of our life. Okay, so this activity is checking in with when you're going to do what. So I'm just going to, you have this in front of you, but I'm just going to go through these. So how and when will I check in with my customer? What questions am I going to answer them or ask them, sorry. Am I asking for a testimonial? The answer is yes. It's just when. What am I going to do with the testimonial? How am I going to track referrals? And then how am I going to reward referrals? What resources am I currently lacking to put these survey steps in place? I love this question because a lot of times with some of these things, I always have this at 36 Touch, is like we just don't have the leverage. And a lot of times it's just time blocking. Another fun book we talk about a lot here at Keller Williams is The One Thing. So The One Thing has a whole section about time blocking. So if I look at all of this, every time I do a transaction, I am just going to have, and I do live and die by Google Calendar. So this is just my throw out suggestion, but you live and die by a different system. So if I have as part of my calendar that the settlement or the closing is on Friday, on Monday, I am going to when I send the calendar reminder to myself that settlement is on Friday, I'm sending a calendar to myself for Monday, which is like my follow-up for the review, for getting it out there, for following up with the client if they didn't receive it, right? Like it's my follow-up for the transaction. Is that going to happen And this is just, again, me not having this marketing person and whoever, like 3 to 5 people on my staff, quote unquote, right? It's just me. I have got to put that in there as a system. Yes.
Question on, I think that's brilliant, right? Using your
It's
calendar
the simple thing, yeah.
To make it systematic. I really love that. Do you talk to your client personally about moving the importance of these, or is that communicated by a text message?
Yes, so both. So I'm big about, so 2 things you'll learn if you come to too many of my classes. So watch out, just kidding. It's always talk about 5 or 6 people that are really influential. I haven't brought them up now because it's not really a marketing class, but I'll do that. And then the other thing is always talk about layering. So I'm always a big and, not or. So, and if you're going to deliver, you want somebody to do something, you have to tell them exactly what you want them to do. So I use this example with our consumer app, but I'm going to show you how I do it with a review. If I send somebody a consumer app, I know the 6 or 7 things that will be so amazing, not just for them, but for me if they utilize this at a high level. However, sending them a link and saying, hey, here's my home search app, they're like, cool, there's so many home search apps. Thanks, Josh, but I already have Pillow. Sorry. Yeah. Pillow. Yeah. I already have the Pillow app that I look for homes on. And if I look at Josh and say, or if I look at my client and say, I am sending you my home search app, and this is a way that you can easily share homes with me. It also allows you to save all of those criteria and create your own search. And then my only difference between Pillow and me is, and you're easily able to share those with me. Does it mean that's the only way you're easily able to share things with me? No, but I'm telling you, this is why you need to do this. And I'm also telling them by signing up, because they don't have to sign up. So in the example of the review, I'm going to tell them at closing, I'm going to send you guys a link, just a review. If you'll leave me a review about the experience we had, those 5-star reviews, they mean the world to me, and they help, my marketing as far as being able to help more people. And then I send the text. I'm so happy for you guys. I saw your post on social. Whatever follow-up is applicable to them, because usually they did post like, we just closed on the house or something. And then I'll say, here's that link that we talked about. So it wasn't just and, it's not, or it's and. And then I have that calendar reminder that's a few days out, so that if they don't do what I told them to do, which is like, welcome to your clients are also versions of your kids, right? Like they might not do exactly what you told them to do. However, I love a good reminder. Like, I remember I told you about that. I was just wondering if you could leave me that. Usually that person, they're like, oh my gosh, like it must mean a lot to Josh apparently, because he mentioned it to me 3 times. So that's how I do that. And I don't think getting frustrated when they don't do it the first time is even remotely acceptable. Because again, I use the golden rule for myself. Would I do something on the first hit? Especially when I just bought a house and I'm freaking moving stuff all weekend. No. But they might be like if I don't do this now, I'm not going to do it. So there's a good chance they'll do it at that initial hit. And you're going to send the little follow-up text, and that one will probably for sure get ignored if they didn't do it initially. And that third one is where I'm going to do that. Okay, so this system, this is going to be probably more homework, but this is the system that you want to outline what you're doing for every transaction. When you're going to ask, what questions would you like answers to? How often? This is almost like part of your communication standards. Am I going to call them once a week? Am I gonna call them? Does anyone have a standard like that? Like you either call them once a week during the transaction or at every deadline, like primary dates? Yes. Your RAS system? Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that is at every part of the transaction, right? Post-close, like inspection.
I mean, you have three components, right? The previous parts of the listing, buyer or seller. There's a communicate early and often components of it. Then there's a live along the market, which is at minimum a weekly communication. And then there's the transaction process, which is, multiple touch points, right? But the one that I think a lot of people miss, and I'm so happy that you brought it up, is the post-close system. Because the majority of the proposal reviews that you're going to receive within about 30 days from the time of closing. So you really do have to have a post-closing system which involves communication, not just text.
Perfect. Yeah, so in this example, 3 days after closing, check-in phone call, how's it going? Questions 14 days after closing, how's it going, right? Like that same transaction that I told you about with the couch, it was also like, it's not going well because I haven't had a heater the last few days. And I was like, oh, like that's not good. And I'm thinking, there is a 99% chance that they're gonna hire a light in the morning. Like I knew it, right? But it was like, no. Yeah, that was it. But it's just like, again, if I had not followed up, it's like, well, apparently, because didn't you know, I don't know if you guys knew this when you took the role as an agent, but you're actually responsible for the whole house and how it functions and works, right? So if I am cold on day 2, you just sold me this house. Fix it.
This is probably dumb, but when it says delete this column, does that just mean what people like us to go out?
Oh. What page is it?
Like on the 7-day script,
What page is that?
I'm
Keep
looking
going
at
down, I bet
the
the scripts
RAS,
are there.
yeah. On the 7-day script and then 25-day script, it says delete this column. I was just wondering if that's like proprietary information or if it was like.
We're great at sharing your proprietary information.
Yeah,
Okay.
you sure are. That's good. It's not proprietary.
Okay.
But,
What is that? Yeah.
I don't know if those were notes that were taken on the Google document that was changing, because the way that the post-close is showing up there is slightly different than the post-close that I currently use, train on, like Jamie's used this post-close. The scripts are also just a little bit different that are on there, and so, anytime you have a system like this, it's a living, breathing organism. You have to be willing to make changes if you can find ways to be more effective. And that's probably all that was just a note like, hey, we're not doing it. We definitely do. We do a 3-day, we do a 7-day, we do a 14-day, we do a 30-day, we do a 45-day.
That's a great question. Delete this call. I just got into Josh's Google Drive and I'm just like, let's just get everything out and make a class. Just kidding. Okay. Oh, it's so funny. It's a good time. Ooh. Right? Okay, I'm gonna just calibrate myself with where we're at.
Like on your workshop work page,
Yeah.
the survey, there's something that I think is really important there, and that's the survey we sent out.
Please.
Back in the day, we sent out a survey to our clients with self-addressed envelopes that fill it out and then send it back. So
Okay.
much of the system that we built came because we had asking for our clients' feedback, and we didn't want fluff of like you're the best thing that's ever happened to me, blah blah blah. It's like I want you to tell me what is one thing that we could do differently that would have improved this experience for you, and most of those things are what created that system. So just to see the fact that since the survey is still there, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and how did you just frame that? You said, what could we have done differently?
What's one thing?
What's one thing?
What's one thing we could have done differently in order to do it better? So we learned so much from doing that. The more clients we serve, the better we got. Let me tell you, when
I like that. And I like that because you're using it to the highest benefit, but it's also coming straight to you like in paper form. It's not like, go tell me what's the one thing we could fix on Google, please, because then that'll be online. It's you're wanting to improve the process and getting asked that. Like if I just said, hey, I just would have liked, there was a little bit confusion about what time I needed to show up to closing or what time I needed to be out of the house or whatever. Other than that, I mean, you guys knocked it out of the park. But just that like little, it's almost like I got it off my chest.
Read one of my surveys or something?
I mean, it's all the same, right? It all goes through the wash. It's just different colors that we put through, you know, it's just like, but it's usually like I didn't understand what the expectation was, right? It wasn't like, hey, you're gonna have to be out of this house for whatever reason. Like, let's say they had to be out for a whole day. If I know I need to be out the whole day and I know a little bit in advance, like I'm trying to sell the house too, we're in this together. And the whole like, hey, so I planned this last minute thing. I was wondering, like, could you go find something to do for 4 hours? Like, no one's gonna be happy about that, right? I don't know.
Read my surveys?
It's just a thing. Yeah, it's just a thing that we all deal with. But okay. Okay, so what ahas do you guys have from the first four? Four? Yeah, 4 chapters. No. Nope. 3. We're on 4. I'm gonna find where I am, so don't look at me right now. Yeah, we're on chapter 5, surpass. From page, if you're in the manual, 104. Okay, I know we kind of glided over this, but I just told you for your workbook that you have on the back side, I wanted you to write by December 31st. So if you haven't already done that, just write at the top of the back page that's blank, by December 31st. I'm gonna have you, take a minute when we're done in 45 minutes and do that. But has anyone written anything down on that yet? Jamie, thank you for being willing to share. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. The other thing too, that's really cool about our consumer app that not a lot of people know is if somebody is interacting with it a lot, there is now something called the AI summary. So if your client is using it and they've done saved searches and they've favorited neighborhoods and done all those things, right? They're actually using it, and the command AI summary will do a summary when you go into their contact card and tell you like, hey, they've looked at a lot of things the last few weeks. This is the price range they're looking at. These are the cities they're looking at. Of these 2 cities, they're in the same school district. So it helps summarize their search patterns. And quickly you get that summary. So when you're prospecting based marketing enhanced, you can see that. And again, in the non-creepy way, use that information to then further help them, right? But them having it and using it is how you're going to get that data. So I love that you have that as a goal. Anyone else that's already written something down as far as something you want to do before the end of the year? Yeah.
I just like what you said about knowing and setting your standards.
Okay, so really filling out that standard page and then going, what is my process around this?
And how are you going to exceed?
Yes. What are you going to do and what are you going to say in each of those phases? Yeah. Cool. I love it. Anyone else needs help? We'll do a quick little like fix our app class. Okay, I love it. No, that's great. It needs to be working. Okay, moving on. Surpass expectation. Okay, I'm updating you on how I feel about time. I feel about the same, just so you know. We didn't make any headway, but I don't feel worse. Is that, yeah. Part of being a good instructor is just checking in, okay? So I'm checking in. Okay. So you're like, wait, this is kind of not in the manual. I did add a couple. This is on 107 as far as surprise and delight, but I did take a little bit of the services, or I guess the slides. I took the slides from our the luxury class that I did. So again, for everybody that's in this room, you have the website. I will go put this exact slideshow in the correct spot, and I will do that today. I will send the link to Sawyer to update before I leave. So just know that that will get updated. But the reason why I did these is it ties into the delight your customer. And this is how our luxury division has taken the customer experience and elevated it a little bit. And so these are relevant to the content that we teach in customer experience, and it has a little bit of an elevated message around it. And so this is why I'm going to share these few slides from that class that I told you was the best Keller Williams class I've ever taken. Okay, so your defining moments should not only surprise and delight, they should be, so this is how you surpass expectation. They should be individualized, systematized, comprehensive, and robust. So we're going to go through each of those, but this is the makeup of how you surpass expectation. So individualize first. So first start with 2 lists for defining moments. One for your sellers and one for your buyers. So as you build your luxury database, again, I want to take it straight from this class, so you don't have to like insert luxury database, but insert just database. And learn more about the populations you serve, you can further personalize your defining moments. Set up concierge checklists that can be used to capture pertinent information about your clients. Leverage your database or command to track this information. So this kind of ties back into really that buyer and seller form that we gave you. You're able to individualize the experience if you know more about the individual and what they're looking for. So that might be an easy example. There might be questions on there that aren't already on your intake form, and maybe you didn't even have an intake form. So that is great. What I would challenge you is that as you're collecting that information, I don't think it's just transaction based. So today we've been talking a lot about the experience you provide for your customer during a transaction. And in these next few slides, I think sometimes our experience, well, not sometimes, most of the time, our experience with, let's just use the Waltons as an example. Once we have this amazing experience where they have sold their home and bought a new one with us, then we don't really have that amazing customer relationship for another 5 to 7 years, sometimes even longer than that, right? And that's not all it's going to be about. We're still going to be able to provide a great experience because we're still in relationship with them. And frankly, they're not going to use us again. Back to that whole, like, we got $7.8 million on the line, potentially for one person. They're not going to use us again, and they're not going to refer us just based on the transaction experience they had. They could do that based on the experience, but as with everything, we really forget. We forget real quick, right? So what a shame if we don't continue that experience on. So we're going to talk about a couple of these things, but I want to almost like, let's pivot the conversation for the next 35 minutes. Like, this also includes our entire relationship with them. And we're going to talk about 36 Touch just a little bit, because I could do a whole class, but we're not going to do a whole class. Systematized. So the process and the responsible party for executing the process should be documented. So when we go under contract, Kelly sends an email. If it isn't Kelly, is it Linda? If it isn't Linda or Kelly, is it anybody? It's Rachel. And if it's not Rachel, then we need to put one of those three people next to the task, because it's important enough. Someone has to be in charge of it, right? The process should be based on your existing transaction milestones. So you have an initial first meeting, maybe you have an appointment, a listing appointment, offer acceptance, closing. And then leveraging smart plans in Command or your CRM to ensure that the process runs smoothly and no defining moments are forgotten. Don't forget, people share experiences, so you want to make sure everyone has an equivalent experience. Josh?
Just a question. Smart plans.
Yeah.
Part-time.
Okay.
If I created the transactional, that moved into a post-closing plan within the smart plans matter, would I be able to select a date that I would want something to occur?
So at the beginning, we do not have, to answer your question, we don't have date-based smart plans. However, most of these things that, like, for example, language around you are now under contract, blah, blah, blah. Like, as if it is in the venue of a general message that isn't specific, you have a tool called Smart Plan Triggers, which is anytime I tag somebody, a contact, as fill in the blank tag, then a smart plan will automatically fire. If I'm trying to automate as much as possible, that might be a system that I utilize for automated communication.
So if it was automated, though, it could go out potentially when we would want to go out?
It would go out as soon as that contact was tagged, whatever that is. So that's something you could play around with as far as strategy, but also in the non-automated but very an awesome system, because we have turnover in our organizations, right? Like, the first assistant that you have won't be your last. And so putting something like in your checklist that you have when people go under contract, add to smart plan called under contract. Like, put the name of it in there so that if you plug in somebody into your organization and you show them how to do it, it's not called, like, I think there's like an under contract plan in there. You just have to look and search under contract. It should be in there somewhere, versus you could just put the name of the smart plan in the checklist, and that's part of your system and your standard. And you just name it the same thing. But if Josh, because I know he does this, he goes and tweaks the messaging a little bit, and I want to say this, it doesn't matter, because whatever assistant's in place is going to just go add to the smart plan named whatever. So being smart about, like, where you're going to leverage, and that if you change things, like, the checklist still stayed the same, right? Did that kind of answer your question? We don't have date-based, and there's some good systems. Yeah, okay.
And I know enough about smart plans to know how I could make it work.
Perfect. Okay, comprehensive. Each part of the transaction should have a defining moment. Don't front load them to be all at the start of the transaction and then omit them at the end or even after. The opportunity to surprise and delight does not end when the transaction ends. And that, I think, going back to that RAS system that we had pulled up, there wasn't any front loading in that system, very intentional throughout the process at intentional and defining moments, I guess I could say, of the transaction. And then there was an opportunity after to continue that communication.
There is actually a front loading to that system when it's a listing,
Okay.
but it wasn't on the RAS format.
Okay.
We call it kind of pre-list, but, Gary Keller, had taught me early on to communicate early on.
Mm-hmm.
So we had front-loaded early communication to establish, that relationship of like, oh my gosh, this guy's really interesting.
Awesome.
However, there was consistent communication throughout. So
Yes.
that's what you were saying. It's like, hey, don't just do it up front. Make sure you've got something that's playing the entire way through.
Yeah, it's almost like once we've sold, like once they're like, yeah, great, like let's sign the listing agreement. You're like, okay, bye.
All the Heinzies in the room are like, okay, great, so
See you later. Goodbye. Yeah. And I'm guessing you probably had very intentional 5-minute phone conversations that were very few, but made a huge difference and made it appear like you were doing absolutely everything. I don't know. Okay, robust is the last one. Each defining moment should include when in the transaction it will happen. That seems obvious, but very intentional. What items will be included, the conversation or dialogue that will happen with that defining moment, i.e. in this example, like I'm asking for a referral. This is the time that I'm asking for the testimonial. You guys filled out that when, or you're going to fill out, like when I'm going to ask for these things. Now you're just going to implement, okay, when am I going to do that? And then a database is one of the most powerful tools you have as a real estate agent. It is a system for you to collect information and communicate with current and future clientele. This one, I was like, ha, ha, ha. That's so obvious. I am not dumb. But we all kind of need a reminder, I hate to say. So this is the quote from, this is specifically what Caroline sends to her clients. Our promise to you is that we will make this as easy and seamless as possible. And by the time we reach your goal at the end of the transaction, love that language around like, this is your goal and we're helping you get there. Not like, my goal is to make money, right? Because this isn't about you. You will be so happy with the experience that we have earned the right to be introduced or referred to anyone you know who you think may benefit from service like ours. I said that like half as eloquently, but this I feel like you have to say with a luxury voice, like anyone that would benefit from service like ours. We are thrilled that you are thrilled. If there is anyone in your circle whom you believe would benefit from our care, we would love an introduction. So that's another quote example, like if you receive, which you will, a text like, you guys knocked it out of the park. You did so amazing. This would be a cool little quick response. We are thrilled that you are thrilled. If there's anyone in your circle whom you believe would benefit from our care. I love this so much more than if you know anyone looking to buy or sell real estate. And it's even in luxury font. So this was worth me taking a little bit out of that class and plugging it in here. So thank you for letting me do that. And you will get this. You will get this updated one. No, because I didn't link the instructor slides because I'm really great. Yes, and it's not in this one because it was in that class. Yes, please, if you want to. And my promise to you is that the slides will be updated by today, okay? And now if I exceed that expectation, okay, you guys, you're gonna start to We're all gonna be like, I don't know if that class made it better or worse. Just kidding. Okay, we're on the home stretch. Because I went off of the beaten path, now I gotta. Okay, that one we're not doing. Okay, so this is, I brought the book just to show you a visual example. So another big thing about our luxury division, they're just big about modeling systems, companies that do high level of service. So this is for the brokerage. Obviously, all of you as real estate agents and teams, and even people that aren't with Keller Williams have a specific value proposition, right? So this is just for Keller Williams Realty, like the brand Keller Williams. At Keller Williams Realty, we want our agents to have an elevated level of service that creates an unforgettable customer experience, an experience that has a tangible difference from all other companies. Pretty clear, straightforward, right? So you could literally insert at Kimber Walton Real Estate Team. That's the worst. I got to think of something different. We want our agents to have an elevated, we want our clients to have an elevated level of service that creates an unforgettable customer experience. And then they listed out some other companies that really do intentionally elevate their service. So this is the book, The New Gold Standard. Has anyone read it? It's basically the models and systems around how the Ritz-Carlton runs their hotels. And our luxury division talks a lot about this book because it is really just providing like a fancy experience. But there is good, whether you sell a lot of $1 million homes, $2 million homes or not, this is a really good book as far as just some of those experiences and standards. So if I could give you a book rec from this class, this would be a good one. Joseph Michelli, I'm going to say Michelli, who also wrote the book, The Starbucks Experience. So this author just really dives into organizations, it looks like, and just shows everybody what they do. Okay. I'm feeling a little better, but I'm still slightly worried. Okay. So I'm just gonna exit out of here for a sec just to make sure. Okay, we're okay. We're okay. Okay. So we're on chapter 6. Let me just make sure this is my activity. Okay. Let me find where we are in the book. Because now we're kind of putting it all together. Sorry, they put all of the... Okay, we are going to be on 133 for if you're following along with the student manual. And we're going to go through this sustain exercise. So the customer experience does not end at closing. So how can I stay relevant in the customer's mind? So you are going to list opportunities for sustaining the relationship. And at the bottom, it says top of mind, foremost in one thoughts of great concern or priority. How will I remain top of mind forever? If you've seen Sandlot, insert forever. So take just a couple minutes and write down opportunities you have for sustaining the relationship with your customer. So while you're writing those down, I'm just going to quickly go through 36 Touch. I've mentioned it a couple of times, but it's something that I teach a lot. And these page numbers of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, these are really good these are good pages to just be a master of, right? Like find mastery in these few pages, because you said this does include the 8x8. But when we talk about 36 Touch, that's when we kind of head over into the conversation about like where the relationship is not only built, but sustained. And so I always like to draw a line like 36 Touch, like, okay, we have a business relationship with someone, and maybe let's just talk about relationships. Like, because sometimes when we talk about that, it makes more sense. Like connecting with our clients, I mean, you're like, I've had 3 hours of that. But just think about a relationship you have. It could be a platonic relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship, but just think about relationships. So, staying top of mind, meaning, has it been more than a couple of weeks before I've talked to the person? Like, let's just insert best friend. I'm going to insert best friend right now. Has it been 2 weeks since I've talked to them? Nope. Usually it's at least a couple times a month that we talk, okay? Are we doing fun things together or something, right? Is there an event? Like, are we breaking bread ever, right? Yes. Okay, good. Is there something, am I just picking up the phone? Like, because the phone's, if it wasn't scary then, it's scary now. Am I having like a phone conversation a handful of times a year? And my best friend lives in Scottsdale, Arizona, so this is very relevant, right? Like we do not spend a lot of time together anymore. So it's like, but 4 times a year, like you hear my voice, I hear yours, even if we never see each other, right? Like this is making sense, right? It's just normal relationship stuff. When we talk about 36 Touch, it's the same. You'll see a lot of variations, but my favorite setup for 36 Touch is 4 phone calls a year, 26 bi-weekly emails, 4 some type of mailer, right? And I say mailer, postcard in the sense of not necessarily too lead Jenny type. I think of more just like something that's like a little bit more intentional, something you want to hold on to for more than 1 second. And 2 events. So the events is just, again, it's that connection. But if this class were to be 8 hours, one of the things we could have gone really a lot deeper on is events are a good opportunity too for that repeat, but not only repeat, referral business. Because it is so easy for me if I call you and say, hey, will you send me 3 friends that you think want to sell their house? And I'll just call them. Like, you know I'm like not a weirdo. Like, can I just call them? Like, just give me 3 of your friends' names. Kind of still feels weird, right? If I just say, okay, we have the Kuwahara event, we have the Pumpkin Patch event, Salt Lake's office, they literally have the client event tomorrow. We have our client event next week. It's at the Kuwahara Pumpkin Patch. Oh yeah, I'd love to come. Do you guys want to invite 2 of your friends that I maybe don't know that I can be introduced to? Are there 2 families that maybe your kids' friends that would want to come along? Oh yeah, no, our neighbors are our best friends. Awesome, Kate. I'm gonna send you the link to register them. What are their names? Oh, it's Kimber and Kate Walton. Okay, awesome. Do you have their phone number? I'm gonna have you fill out the form, but just so I kind of have their contact. Okay, awesome, great, okay. Yeah, as long as they're registered on there, we'll check them in, they'll get the tickets, right? So it's like, but now I not only have captured more contact information, I now have a warm connection. And if I happen to go to the event, this extra credit, but if I happen to go to the event, I can now say, oh, you're the Waltons. They've told me so much about you. Thanks for coming. I'm so glad you guys are able to make it. They go you just created a fun night for 2 families that usually get together. It was just on you. And I just added $7.8 million to my database by hosting that event. Right? So that's not only how I sustain the relationship with my clients, but that's also how I continue to build my database and add more 7.8 million and get more referrals, right? Like, and again, at least twice a year, because if the only thing I have is connection with them is they know the fill in the blank clients and they came to my pumpkin patch, well, why don't I just go ahead and be consistent and do the pumpkin patch every single year? Our offices host an event a quarter. So you don't have to do all of them, but you could twice a year pick an event that you always do that. And so consistently, like you're the person that provides the fun pumpkin patch night. And now I'm building a relationship with you. And that was the easiest way for me to get an opportunity versus like I have to go like manufacture something, some reason why I need your friend's phone number, right? How I said it was a lot better. So this is an example of sustaining. What did you guys write down as far as remaining top of mind forever? Yeah, just read one. Yeah, just read one as far as just sustaining the relationship. And it's probably something you're already doing.
Right. The biggest one, phone calls just to say hi and how are your kids, your family doing? And then another big one is, we're big on charitable events, charities.
Yeah.
So inviting them to a charitable event.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's amazing. I think sometimes, I can't think of any right off the top of my head, but every now and then we'll plug in like a donation for KW Cares onto our events. I think we're going to do a pickleball tournament thing in South Valley in November. So that's an example where you can make it, hey, I'm raising money for this organization. I'd love for you to come and play pickleball. Like, it's like fun, right? It's not the obligatory, like a night hanging out with my agent, you know, because sometimes it's like, it's not about you, it's about them. So I think that's a great example. And it shows you give back. Yeah. Okay. Personally, I will tell you, you are probably the only Ignite student that has written me a handwritten thank you card. And I have taught Ignite every month for 2 years. So to the point of you are memorable, you nailed it. Because if you made me name like 5 Ignite, I mean, obviously I know our agents, but it's like if you said, hey, who are the last 3 Ignite classes, and like name 3 people, I'd be like, well, the thank you card's gonna pop up very first, even if I could remember 3, right? So I'm glad you said that, and I will tell you it worked, and it will continue to work. Anyone else? Someone? Okay. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, so we have 10 minutes. I have like 5 slides, so I'm trying to decide what to prioritize. Okay, I am gonna do this very last, so I'll do our few slides, but then I'm gonna show you this. So Keller Williams University is, it has about 150 instructors in it. Master faculty has about 40, so it's a small group considering we have about 150,000 real estate agents. So in order to be KWU approved as an instructor, you have to take Train the Presenter. You have to take Train the Trainer Advanced. Train the Trainer Advanced is a little bit harder because you have to pass it. So if you don't pass the class, the teacher will say, thank you, please take this again. You need a little bit more work. So I was lucky enough to pass Train the Trainer Advanced, but the last little piece of me getting Keller Williams University approved is getting 75 evaluations from people that have attended my class, so that, again, back to the feedback, to Josh's point, always asking how you can do better. The only way that I'm gonna do better to provide a good training experience is getting reviews. So, very applicable to this class. So I'll pull this up after we go through the last few slides, but again, you'll just go in here, scan it, do the evaluation. If you're not with Keller Williams, you can still do it. And in person, my instructor name, Kimber Walton, and then the course's customer experience. It'll say not yet, or instructor not in dropdown. That's because I'm not Keller Williams University approved, so you have to like put in my name manually. So that's my goal, so that you don't have to do that. So thank you for giving me a review. Okay. So we didn't print out this activity, but I want you to think about it. What is your, like putting this all together, what is your legacy? A lot of you have a decent legacy within this industry. This is who you are. Your agents, you're not your agents, your clients know you as being a real estate agent that provides a high level of service. And if you're newer, what is going to be your legacy? Josh Stern, what's your legacy?
I think what I hope my legacy was.
Yeah.
Will be just
Up till now, yeah. There's still pages to write.
creating a business that creates leaders who return from years
I love that. That's big. Who wants to follow Josh? Just kidding. Heather Carmody, can I pick on you? Don't you love that I ask, can I pick on you as I'm picking on you? To then basically say, what are you gonna respond? Yeah. So another, again, to the point of like me remembering a statement that Josh said, one of the most impactful, again, classes, but really just hey, we threw this on the training calendar and we have a talented agent named Mike Carmody that is dialed with his database, and he's gonna come teach us a 36 touch, right? What I think is a cool moment for your team, but then also just I've seen it be your legacy, because I've been here for 10 years, so I've literally watched your kids grow up on social media. I think what's so cool is that I've seen over time being extremely consistent about, and yes, I know you always have things you want to improve on, but being extremely consistent about how you reach out to your people. I remember that class, Mike always knew exactly how many people were in your database. He had a standard as far as if people aren't communicating with us on the cool giveaways we're doing, like we do remove them, right? This is a two-way relationship. We provide a lot of value as a team. And if we're not in a relationship with someone, we're fine to get them out of your database. So that number you wrote down, you probably knew that number. You wrote it down and you know exactly that that's your people versus like, well, I got all the 800 people in command, but I don't know, right? But the legacy is like your daughters are at the age, remind me their age? Yeah. And they're, I mean, is it your 20-year-old or your 18-year-old that's in Texas? Both of them. And they're both playing soccer, collegiate, um, scholarship, like, but it's probably a little bit of an expense to get them there. And it's like, it's so cool to see this piece of your legacy play out. So I'm just kind of pointing that out as a personal story that I know of you, but it's because, yes, there's been ebbs and flows in business, but the consistency is where that legacy has been able to show up. What would you add to that?
You know, I mean, yeah, I think it's just showing your kids that, you know, you can be self-employed and, you know, have jobs that allow you flexibility and, you know, just kind of showing them that there's different ways. And I think it's funny because you've got, you know, our girls and you've got boys' girls. None of them want to be in real estate, which, I mean, is.
They're like, what is it, real estate? Like, you guys are annoying.
Like, Gabby's right, and it is understood, but like, it's just kind of funny that, you know, they've
Yeah.
kind of seen it and, you know, they know that that's like what they're like fans do, but like, they don't really have any names and like, pursuing that. Maybe they will at some point, but
Yeah.
right now it's kind of yeah, whatever. But I think it's just good to kind of show them that, you know, they can kind of work hard on this and this is kind of what it is and we can work together and, you know, sometimes that's super cool and sometimes it sucks. You know, it's like, but it's allowed us to be at all of their things because of us being self-employed and allowed us to travel all over the country to watch them play soccer and be there at important events. And I think that's the legacy of that family and that's
I love that. Yeah, so doing all the consistent things. And I'm sure it's not like Heather doesn't have a nice list of homework she's probably written down. And yeah, because it's always about perfecting those systems, but this is kind of the framework for all of that, right? So that's kind of why we asked that at the end of this class. Like, what is your legacy? So it really sits and resonates with you. Like, we started with the why, like the numbers, but then we're kind of ending with the like, because everything else, right? Because this is the dream and really we get to help people and we have the Life by Design where we can go be at every single or as much as we possibly can, like the soccer games, and we can travel there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and even down to, I know it sounds simple, but like being able to, one of my things just in my career was that I have something that even if I have to go open up my laptop later, but can I pick up my kids from school at 3:30? At 3:35, it's just me. It's me. It's like my face, my car, like they're looking at me. And it was because like I grew up, like I lived close enough to the school that I just like hopped the fence, but I was always like in carpool and stuff like that. But it's like, I just decided I didn't love that it wasn't like my mom picking me up every day. And my parents did the best that they could do at the current time, but it's like that's been a goal of mine. So I hope the little details that we worked through today, it's felt relevant because sometimes when it's not going to get us into action unless it feels relevant, right? And I'm going to pick on Melanie here. I'm not even asking you for permission. You are at such a stage where you have had such an amazing business, and it's like now it's almost like the baton is being passed to you, and there's like it's like, okay. And you are also at a fun stage of your life, right, where you can go be there for your grandchild now and then also go be over this, right? So it's cool. It's cool the legacies that get built in this industry. And it's just the experiences that we kind of create throughout the transaction that really cement all of that. They didn't, yeah, they're like, oh, that looks fun. No, I will tell you that because I was friends with Brittany Pate, Joan Pate came to career day at Olympus Junior High, and I was like, I am gonna be a real estate agent. That lady is classy. So I was like the opposite. I was like, the dream is. But then I also look back and I'm like, oh yeah, like Joan was never around when I was at Brittany's house because she was probably always working. Okay. This is the moment of truth. Just kidding. So if you can, just with your phone, or go to kwueval.com, go fill this out. It would mean the world to me. Everybody needs to do this. And you notice how I said, I didn't say, and like, leave me a 5-star review. I said, just leave me the review that I have earned, and I will get better. And then that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's like at least 10 people. Thank you. And my promise to you is I will update the slides. Thank you so much for coming. It was good to meet some new faces. And hey, there's a handful of South Valley people here. I'm proud of you as well. It's funny, people that live in South Jordan are non-emotional about traveling to Salt Lake. Salt Lake, however, is a little bit less interested in traveling out to daybreak. Out there, oh, you guys, it's fine. You're gonna be fine. Just kidding. I used to be like that all the time. Kimber Walton. And you have to say instructor, not in drop down. I'm not in the drop down yet because I'm working to get in the drop down. It says instructor, not in drop down. It's probably the last. It's either the last or the first. Okay. Oh. So are you able to log in with your login like on to command? Do you think?
It keeps saying that it comes to where it says again.
Yeah, I can help you. I'm the answer. The answer is me. Thanks everybody for coming.